got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller. Yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
The next trip on the arduous schedule takes the field a couple thousand miles out to Thunder Valley, where the last great Colosseum draws its sword, looking for its next batch of victims and one victor over a physical night of endurance. Live from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway in Bristol, Tennessee, we welcome you to the third race in Season 7 of the Sunoco Cup Series with our coverage tonight on VSPEED. It's Bristol, baby. We're happy you're with us tonight. We're alongside producer / color commentator Bradley Cooper. I'm Kenneth Bueno. Now, Bradley, 2 weeks ago, we went 1.5 mile racing for the first time in Season 7. Tonight, we have our third discipline of racing on display with short track style event. It is going to be a wild one, a lot of physicality, a lot of aggression. We might just see a brand new winner to make it 3 on the season. And of course, a lot of new challenges over this long 400 lapper here from Tennessee.
Yeah, this racetrack being described as a gymnasium with cars in it is the best way I can put it. If you're into contact sports, well, this is NASCAR's version of it. You will constantly be on top of one another. Even when you're passing lap traffic, you're almost at the end of the field when you take the green flag. It's going to be a grueling, demanding, and physical race here today at Bristol.
And this is the first time that we visit the concrete version of Bristol since Season 5. It's been quite a long time since we've seen this normal Bristol Motor Speedway on tap. We spent a couple of seasons racing it on the dirt side of things. In Season 6, we only raced this track on the dirt surface. This is a bad fast 0.5 3-mile track, 0.858 kilometers with 28 degrees of banking in the turns. And Bradley, this track, of course, the first short track race of the season. But what are the biggest unique characteristics about Bristol the drivers have to really keep in mind, as we won't have another short track race until Dover in June?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Dover because these tracks both very similar. The concrete surface, very abrasive. Choose the tires off these cars. The other factor is it's difficult to pass. You can get to the inside or the outside of a driver, but coming off the exits of these corners, it's very difficult to complete it. And a lot of guys will find that they're not clear and come up in front of each other. You're going to see a lot of slide jobs, as we call them, and guys just moving each other out of the way because it's so difficult to complete a clean pass, especially late in the run.
Here at Bristol, this is the third race of Season 7, and we'll take a look at the entire 2024 schedule. We had Daytona to kick off the year in late February. Then 2 weeks ago, we went to Las Vegas on the West Coast. We swing back to the East, where Bristol is our host. Tonight, we'll head to the Lone Star State 2 weeks from tonight at Texas, then Talladega, Kansas, Charlotte Motor Speedway, and onwards through the rest of the regular season. Bradley, we mentioned the multiple types of disciplines that the drivers will face over the first 3 rounds, and we get to go back and forth between mile and a half and then super speedway racing before we inevitably get to our first road course race at Sonoma. It's really early in the season, only race 3, but there are certainly things that drivers have to keep in mind. Momentum, and then, of course, winning races that could get you to those coveted playoffs that start at Atlanta.
Well, and if you see there, May 5th, then a giant break of almost a full month before we go to Charlotte. So keeping that momentum, keeping your head right to come back and race at Charlotte will get these guys back in at a normal mile and a half. But Sonoma is one of those kind of an asterisk in the schedule because guys that maybe do well at these mile and a halves, these intermediate tracks or draft tracks, you probably won't see the same names up front. There's going to be very few drivers that are dominant at both those kind of racing disciplines. And over the season, those could be the ones that lock themselves in to those playoffs by just getting a win at a road course.
And you can also make the same argument towards Bristol tonight, right? There's a specific breed of driver that can succeed so much here at these half-mile tracks and 1 mile tracks, the short track venues that often reward surviving and being more physical with your race car as opposed to tire saving or just flat out using the strategy to your advantage. More often than not, we see a bloodbath when we come to tracks like Bristol. We'll see if that's the same sort of calamity that we find ourselves in at the end of 400 laps tonight. Here, look at the point standings after the first several races. Steven Stepien, the winner of race number 1, backed out of race number 2 at Las Vegas due to a torn Achilles. He's still trying to get himself through all of these races to participate and get some points. Currently at the top of the board in qualifying, so some good news there for Stepien. But since then, Bradley, we have seen fast banana domination, and it all starts with Colin Forster, the winner last week or 2 weeks ago at Las Vegas.
Yeah, Forrester put it on, and Fast Banana did well at Daytona, but it all kind of fell apart towards the end of the race. And here with the stages oh so important, they did do well in those and then just put it all together at Vegas. And that's what you're going to have to do all season long. You're going to have to get good stage finishes. Here at Bristol, it's going to be a completely different animal because stages sneak up on you fast. You're thinking, well, we can look at this race analysis real quick. If you look at the amount of laps, 125 laps here at Bristol, that comes fast. That's much, much shorter in time. It's only about 15 seconds, roughly, race time to get around this place. So we're going to tick that away, and it's going to be in the blink of an eye. You better be in the top 10 when it happens.
It's a split second that you get a lap done here at Bristol Motor Speedway, and hence why the 400 laps doesn't seem as daunting when you go to a track this short. You can get it done with in a couple hours. We go just a bit over 210 miles. Pit road speed limit is at 35 miles an hour, and just to give you the note, we're using the single pit road lane here tonight, so no worries about drivers getting confused about which side of the track their pit stall is on, although that would have been a lot of fun to make that a storyline tonight. Tire sets available are 10, Bradley, which is going to matter. Of course, we do have a track that is susceptible to many, many caution flags, but oftentimes we couple that with the tire strategy when drivers decide to come down pit road, and then, of course, the stages, all those points available. You might want to be one of those that could survive at the end of either of those stints to get points needed for the championship.
Yeah, it's going to be really important to save those tire sets and use them only when you have to. Try to keep yourself on the same strategy as the leaders or, the vast majority of the pack, but maybe in the final stage, somebody doing something different. I think that'll stand out because if you could stay 5-6 laps fresher on these tires, you could be the deciding factor in this race and trying to control the field. Again, track position key, maybe stay out once and get ahead of the field. You might lose a couple positions, but ultimately, if you end up in the top 10, it's going to be a lot easier come to the end of the race.
But the mission for most is beat Colin Forster. He's been the only driver out of the entire field to get stage points in every single stage so far throughout Daytona. And then, of course, Las Vegas, where he picked up his second career Sunoco Cup Series victory. We get a look at our beautiful faces shortly before we get to the green flag tonight from Bristol. And Bradley, of course, as a short track, you think that maybe I have to beat and bang some other drivers to get around to win. And that's sort of true. And, you know, you could have a lot of the endurance drivers come into the mix where, you know, they might be more willing, if you will, to beat and bang to get their positions. But tonight is really going to be about survival. And I'd imagine mentally for the entire camp in the Sunoco Cup Series, this might be a race they want to forget if they're not one that are really likable to those short tracks.
Well, we saw it a little bit at Las Vegas. Some guys, some tempers starting to flare. This place is just going to multiply that, because even if you do get moved out of the way and you get a little damage, and that car's a little off pace, you're going to see that guy again, whether he's passing you to go a lap down or you find your way back up into the top 5. So, I mean, you got to think, is it worth making this move now? And we're going to see physicality all over this racetrack, but you have to plan that and think, well, that guy's going to be back on my bumper in 2 or 3 laps. Do I do it now, or do I wait until the white flag?
Well,
We've
speak
seen
of
it a
temper
lot.
flaring. Yeah, speak of tempers flaring. We had Mario Miranda and Ross Hollow go at it side by side on the back straightaway, winning laps at Las Vegas. And for Miranda, previous winner here at Bristol, he's had a rough start to the season. Average finish of 36.5, which is his worst in his Sunoco Cup Series career and his worst since his average of 19.5 over the first 2 events back in Season 5. If you're a driver like Miranda, you haven't been able to cash in on most of the points available throughout the first 2 races. What do you do to come back at a track that you're mostly successful at?
Well, I think the first start is to get up front early in this race and try to stay out of the way. Anything that can happen in front of you, try to keep the least amount of cars possible. I mean, we're looking here at the starting lineup, and it's looking like Miranda's probably not going to have that much trouble, but still, at the same time, it's a bunch of guys going for the same piece of real estate. They all want to be in first place. You got Stimpian up here. I know that he's a little off. He's not completely healthy, so I'm interested to see how that plays into this race. A number of factors here tonight, Kenneth, and we're going to see it all unfold right before our eyes.
It feels like Steven Stempian is performing the Kobe Bryant when he tore his Achilles and went right back to the free throw line. We'll take you trackside and give you the starting grid for tonight's 3rd race of Season 7 in the Sunoco Cup Series from the last great Colosseum, where on the pole will be Steven Stempian in the number 88 for dropping the hammer. Left early at Las Vegas 2 weeks ago. He's still dealing with the recovery of the torn Achilles. He's on the top spot, though, with the green flag. He's joined alongside by the rookie, Jonathan Cofield. Got to give props for the qualifying effort out of the 58. That concludes row number 1 to the green flag. Starting 3rd will be the 48 of Alexander Muscarella, who had heartbreak over the last several races. Daytona, close to the victory. Las Vegas, the same boat, and then he was crashed both times. He's going to try to fully rebound from the heartbreak tonight from 3rd. Ross Harlow, who had a bit of contact with Mario Miranda late in the going at Las Vegas, will look to continue a so far consistent season. His Chevrolet Camaro is right alongside Muscarella on the outside of row number 2. Alex Huffman in the 10 machine, a lot of strength displayed at Las Vegas early. We'll see if he continues that success tonight from Bristol. Zach Wilson returns to action, missed 2 weeks ago at Vegas, and he'll roll off from 6th place. Lawson Peel for Drinkin' Bros Racing, his Chevrolet Camaro, the 2-time defending champion, going to be in 7th place, and Ray Rogers, the Florida driver, going to be on his outside in 8th place. To round out your top 10, sophomore driver Aaron Adcock in the 17, and Drinkin' Bros Racing's Ally Chevrolet of Joe Sanchez.
11th position is going to belong to Richard Swavely. Jesse Whittington in the 94 is going to begin in 12th. Chris Shoemaker in the 4, 13th position. Shane Wyatt in 14th. Then you have Eddie Smith, VSPEED's very own. He's going to VSRN. He's changing up with a Tide machine here tonight. Mario Miranda, we talked about earlier, going to start midfield here in 16th. Austin Shoemaker in 17th spot with Logan Sturgeon in 18th. And rounding out that top 20, it's Robert Hanrada and Austin Reedy.
Justin Winters is 21st. Isaac Mock in the 47 back in 22nd. Those are the 2 drivers in row number 11. Curtis Kelly, Brandon Banks, 23rd, 24th. Garrett Brown, rounding out your top 25 as the pace car peels off. We'll see the rest of your grid flow by on the bottom of your screen, but it is Steven Stepien and Jonathan Cofield, the pair of Chevrolets, to lead us to green at Bristol. Opening lap for Jonathan Cofield, the double yellow striped rookie driver, taking it to the top spot. Stepien flailing back to second place. Ross Harlow and Zach Wilson manning the higher grooves to be third and fourth. Muscarella trapped on the bottom against Lawson Field in that bout for the top 5. A quick getaway, Bradley, early for the rookie in Cofield, pulling away by about 3/10.
Yeah, I saw Stepien. He didn't get quite the start that he wanted, and Cofield was able to get really good into 2. Got right on by. But I'm still interested. Stepien, this is a very demanding racetrack, and if you're hurting, I don't know what they've got him medicated with here to keep his sanity, but, you know, I watched the podcast. He talked a little bit about you can't do anything. When you tear something like that, you're useless. I mean, it is almost completely debilitating, and I can't imagine how he feels right now. But he is riding in second place, pulling away from Ross Harlow.
Really tough injury to go through. Achilles, I mean, hurt so badly, and I can't imagine the level of pain that Steven Stepien had to go through when he tore it and had to try to make his roundabout through Las Vegas. First caution is out early on lap number 6. We'll see exactly how the stack-up fared in the back of the field. Logan Sturgeon in trouble early around near the outside wall.
Doesn't look like anybody else involved with this. We're going to take a look back here. Maybe help here. I'm from the 9. I don't know.
Full Lock Racing's Logan Sturgeon on the inside.
Yep.
Bill Schoonover, yeah, just getting loose and kicking out the rear end. That was exiting turn 2 and just fully tagged the rear end of the 26. Here's another look at it from Schoonover's perspective. And this is something we'll see often. Bradley Cooper, cars just getting loose by their lonesome once you step out of the banking. Very easy to do with these cars, and something that usually does still catch a lot of drivers off guard.
Yeah, it's a transition of this racetrack. You're going from steeper than the roof of your house at 30 degrees to about 5 degrees down the straightaways, and that's unloading the suspension. We talk about the G-forces that pin these cars down to the racetrack. A lot of it mechanical grip, a lot of it mechanical downforce, and that banking helps with that. But when your car is cambered out, your tires, the contact patch changes, and you lose the rear end, and the independent rear end on these cars, it's a little harder to feel that back end kick out. So even more difficult than it used to be here at Bristol because of the way these cars are built.
It's more fidgety of a race car too, so any bit of wheel input that gets this car sideways, it could be really difficult to get it back righted. And how many official races have we seen, either us driving or just watching, where just drivers get out of control out of 2 or out of 4 because they don't really notice that car stepping out until it's too late. Bill Schoonover finding the saving grace in Logan Sturgeon to avoid heavy contact to take him out of the race, but it will of course hurt them track position wise, and Schoonover is going to bring his A-Shock Chevrolet on pit road. Sturgeon going to fall all the way back to 35th place as a result of the early spin. We'll double them up behind the iRacing official pace car. Jonathan Cofield getting out to a pretty big advantage early on Steven Stepien. Bradley, I'm not sure whether that was just first lap jitters, that Cofield was just excited to get out on track and pull away from the rest of the field, or whether this is demonstrative of the raw talent and speed that Jonathan Cofield has at a short track like this. But so far, so good over the first 10 for Cofield.
I've been watching him a lot here on VSPEED. I think that's one of the names we say at least 3 times a week. And I can say confidently that he is that good at a short track, and I hope he can keep it up here. Maybe a little biased here for the 58, but here's the green flag. We're back live and racing for the second time today at Bristol.
He threw the entire field off guard. Ross Harlow is going to dive under for second place. Stepien getting caught up in the Hornets' nest. There is Lawson Peel. And then Joe Sanchez, a pair of Drinking Bros Racing teammates, followed by Zach Wilson, who's tailing behind this group in 6th. Lawson Peel getting up early throughout the field, started in 7th, +4 since the drop of the green as Stepien holds on, wiggles a bit near the outside lane. Sanchez is going to split the difference through the middle, although he'll fall back, and Stepien's going to hold on to 3rd. Nice battle from about 3rd on back, 2x2, multiple rows deep.
Sanchez thought about taking it 3 wide there, and a little contact there, maybe a little net code bubble, but the 55 is able to clear the 12. And I was just about to say, is this the race that Lawson Peel puts it together? We've seen him have, well, it was a very bad race for him at Daytona. It just didn't work out at all. But last week, it seemed like, yeah, okay, we're back into normal here for the 12 team, and then heartbreak again. Is this the one?
Good ass that. He started 37th, or actually 22nd. Yeah, 37th in the race from Las Vegas, then finished 22nd off of all the difficulties the 2-time Sunoco Cup Series champion faced. But the good news is that history does favor Lawson Peel. The last time we were here, I mentioned it at the top of the show. Season 5, it was a 200-lapper with only 6 cautions back in September of 2022. Lawson Peel was the victor in all of that, leading 44 laps after starting in 6th. So a 7th place start for Peel, moving up through the top 5 early. Probably an indicative sign of what Peel can pull out here with the next-gen cars tonight. There's a look at Alex Muscarella, who is also desperately, Bradley, looking for a rebound after what happened at Vegas 2 weeks ago, and even then what happened about a month ago at Daytona International Speedway, where he was up at the front late in the going at the World Center of Racing. Bam, internet connectivity issues, he's thrusted out of the race. Then at Las Vegas, similar deal where he was strong early, had control of the top spot, and then got turned around and crashed entering turn 1. So for Muscarella, this is probably a must-need situation for points. He's been able to be there in the top 10 when it matters throughout the race, but it's all been about finding that last puzzle piece to connect everything together. Muscarella riding 18th right now and putting a lot of distance between himself and everyone else for good measure.
Yeah, he started up here in the top 2 rows. I think he started 3rd here tonight. So whatever the case is going on, as we see the pass by Ross Harlow to the outside of Cofield, but whatever's going on with that 48 car right now, he's lost a ton of time, and we saw maybe just a bad restart. I don't know if he spun the tires or maybe got moved out of the way. A checkup on the outside, I don't really know, but yeah, the 48 car, if we're wanting to have that must-need situation, he's going to have to turn it around fast.
2 weeks ago at Las Vegas, he didn't pick up any stage points, wasn't even in the top 10, so Muscarella really does need to piggyback off of maybe some of the momentum he can carry into Bristol and keep his head high, as we had a change for the race lead. Ross Harlow in his Chevrolet getting around Jonathan Cofield, and here's where Cofield might be stuck in the cornfield, because there's Steven Stepien, Joe Sanchez, Ray Rogers, Shane Wyatt, a heap of strong drivers that have either been around the top 5 for the first 24 laps of this race or have found themselves in here as of late. If you're looking at Shane Wyatt, Steven Stepien dives underneath on the inside, gets loose before he can fully complete this pass on Cofield, and this is going to be the line of defense, Bradley, and I'm talking literal racing line. The top side has been notorious with these cars to defending its drivers, fighting for position on the bottom, but usually there's a fall-off point to where that outside really isn't that strong anymore, but Cofield strategically putting his car up there just to make sure he can get around Stepien and at least hold on to second place.
Yeah, the defense on the outside, he talked about how tough it is to pass here. That's part of it. You're pretty even when you exit these corners. Coming into the corner, you see right there Lawson Peel trying to get around. I believe it's a 27 machine of Shane Wyatt, but he just can't complete the pass. You have to run out towards the wall on the exit because that transition is so quick that you have to use as much of that banking for as long as you can to keep the speed up, and the track flattens out a little bit sooner down there on the bottom, so it kind of creates that outside defensive strategy. As the track rubbers up, though, that'll go away.
And here's the entire fight for 5th on back. Lawson Peel lunging it into 3 and 4 just to get ahead of Shane Wyatt. Those two
contact!
Door to door. Zach Wilson getting a piece of Alex Huffman, goes sideways. Miranda and Ray Rogers are going to fight on the inside and get by. Eddie Smith was also a part of that in his Ford Mustang.
I think we have problems. For Lawson Peel, he has disappeared from the session.
Oh no, so yeah, Lawson Peel, I think now fully has recovered. He's back on the racetrack, but look at this big fight for position inside the top 10. Shane Wyatt aiming to hold on. There's Eddie Smith on the inside. Alex Huffman up top, the 2 Ford Mustangs.
So Smith was on the outside just a moment ago. He's picking up quite a few here. Up 8 positions from where he began. That tied 87. Oh, Ricky Craven throwback on that machine. I like it.
Hey, we're at Bristol. Why not pull out a classic? It's not Darlington, but, you know, this is one of the more historic short tracks on the schedule. There's Miranda getting to the inside and potentially making this a completed pass for 8th, although Eddie Smith is using the high side to his advantage and holding on. For Smith, he ended up finishing pretty nicely for himself at Las Vegas 2 weeks ago. It was a 4th place outing after starting in 12th and was one of the 4 drivers, Bradley, that started outside the top 10 and made their way to the top 5 late in the going, and that's the 2nd race in a row that we've seen 4 out of the top 5 drivers occupy spots beneath the top 10 to start and then occupy the top 5 at race end. Eddie Smith is looking to continue the nice run, and he follows Alex Huffman, the driver for Allen's Legacy Racing, alongside Justin Winters. Smith for the Coman Motorsports camp running up high, and they've got Zach Wilson and Aaron Adcock not too far behind either. This fight is really building up nicely for around 8th on back.
While we were talking about all this, though, the top 4 have kind of split off from this field, and actually top 5 Peel's in that group as well. But then it's about 7-8 tenths to get back here to this battle. And these guys are still right on top of each other. I don't know if this is really helping the tires. We were talking about how much you have to save at this racetrack, but right now they're just hungry for track position early in this first stage.
Well, Shane Wyatt is holding on for dear life. He's back in 7th, and look at the gap that he has up to Mario Miranda in 6th place, 3 wide. Jesse Whittington on the bottom. That was Robert Honrada occupying the top. Reedy through the middle. Whittington gets pushed out of line as he got loose. Almost gets a tap from Muscarella on the way out of turn 4. We saw 4 wide 2 weeks ago at Vegas. Probably won't want to do the same tonight at Bristol. Bradley doesn't hold that much cars, but 3 wide, good enough. That was fun.
Yeah, they held it well, and that's impressive. That shows the talent of this league and how well these guys get together and make sure that they're giving each other clearance, they're giving each other plenty of room. But as this run progresses, I don't know if I'd want to try that too many more times because this car can get unpredictably loose all the way down near that line on the exit.
Well, the question is, how long until the rest of these guys get around Shane Wyatt? He's been the Pied Piper at the top, and he's held back Eddie Smith, Aaron Adcock, the pair of teammates out of Poman Motorsports, and Zach Wilson, who's taking the gamble by running the bottom. He wants to inevitably get by a Wyatt Chevrolet. It looks to be successful for the moment, but the RTR Motorsports Wilson machine is going to stay put, as this is the continuing fight for 7th place. Wilson's going to get a hard-fought position gain there, and he'll try and chase down the next driver in line, Miranda, although it's going to be a tall task. He's behind by about 2 seconds. And we mentioned Miranda's struggle through the first 2 races of the season, and mentioned the fact that his first 2 races, he's averaged 36.5 over the first races of the season at Daytona and Las Vegas, his worst in his Sunoco Cup Series career. Tonight is all going to be about his hunger to get back to the front. We know how fast he is. We know how consistent he can be over a long run, but it's about Bradley getting out of the trouble. He faced Ross Harlow 2 weeks ago at Vegas. Also got into a crash while they were trying to split a slower tired car entering turn 1. And then at Daytona, didn't really fare much for him either, well, as he got into a huge crash entering the first quarter and basically was the heart of the big one. Miranda really has to bounce back as Cofield bounces back from lagging for 2nd place and looks on the inside for Harlow on the top spot.
Almost gets him clear there as they come out of turn 2, and I saw in the timer that he was picking up a ton of ground. I don't know if the 3 car made a mistake here, but Cofield right back into the mix. He's going to lead some more laps.
Cofield was 2 drivers inside the top 5 that were logging laps inside the 15.7 bracket. Here's Harlow has slowed down considerably, 15.8s, almost 15.9s. Now he crosses through at a 15.9 as they get past the stripe. The only driver faster than them was Mario Miranda approximately 2 laps ago, where he put in a 15.6. So Cofield, the rookie, gets back to the front and up in the position ahead. Not really position ahead, but really along the horizon. Bradley are lap traffic machines. First time we're seeing that tonight. bit of a difficulty here at a track this small to get around some of those lap guys.
You got to time it perfectly, and you see right here the 58 is going to catch up to the 9 of Schoonover here. He just has to time it to where he doesn't meet him on the exit of these corners. It's almost the worst time, is you're going to see exactly that, and that can hold you up tremendously. He's able to navigate it cleanly, but sometimes you get next to a guy on the exit of the corner, and if he wants to push the issue to stay on the lead lap, he'll run you just like you defend on the outside for a position. And it can cost you 2-3 tenths a lap. You'll have the guys that you just passed back on your rear bumper before you know it.
Especially when you catch them at a part of the track like the exit of the corner. That's what Ross Harlow suffered and got hit at the rear bumper by Stempy and was basically telling him, hey, let's go. As they're both running the inside lane, they finally get around Schoonover. There up the road is the 43 of Dakota Curtis, who just went 2 laps down. Hasn't been the first start by Bristol that Curtis is looking for. Hasn't really been a good run at all so far, as he's fallen those 2 laps down. And there goes the rest of the lead lap field. Mario Miranda pushing on Joe Sanchez. That's going to be for 4th place, and they're also catching Schoonover near the exit. These lap cars could make or break your run, like you said. And there it is, past 4th position. That's 2nd place up for auction and won by Steven Stempien.
I'm really impressed with the 88 car here tonight. I don't know if he's using the clutch pedal again like he was trying at Vegas, but how much practice he probably had to put in to even do that. I can't imagine just, you know, how many years, Kenneth, do you have in the sim racing realm? And if anything in your cockpit or in your setup or just your computer screen refresh rate is changed, you can tell immediately.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
Imagine
Your
a whole new
frame rate
leg.
changes a bit, and it's like, whoa.
Imagine a whole new leg you're trying to use the throttle control with. I just don't even understand how you can do that.
It is really tough to get around.
Yellow.
Caution is out. There's the spun around car. It's Aaron Adcock, who was running inside the top 10 one of the last times we caught up with him. He was in a pretty decent fight, still behind Shane Wyatt. And this time Adcock, with pretty considerable damage, gives us our 2nd caution of the night at lap 58.
To back this up just a little bit more to figure it out, there's a couple, looks like Shoemaker, somebody else was involved with that. It's a Chris Shoemaker. I couldn't tell the other car.
Let's take another look at this. This is, again, behind Austin Reedy, Shane Wyatt in the 27. There's that black and green machine of Chris Shoemaker. It appears that yellow car was Richard Swavely in the background that gave Adcock just a bit of that tap as he was coming out of the corner to fully send him around. Quite a sandwich off the corner. Here's a look from Shoemaker, who was stacked up by Wyatt. And I'd imagine, Bradley Cooper, that when you're running up high like that, everyone wants some free ground, and everyone behind Shane Wyatt just wants to get through. They're all faster by a little bit, and then they just all stack up on the way at the exit of the corner, and that's exactly what Adcock was the victim of. Leaders on pit road, Cofield leading everyone down 60 laps in.
Is this the time that you take tires? Are we playing fuel strategy? What's the call here? You might even see some guys take 2 tires if they're confident enough. This is still a little early, I think, for pitting. We've only completed about 35 miles. It hasn't been much.
It has not, but this is basically the midway point of stage 1, which will come to a close at lap 125. So if you've gotten this far on that set of tires, you're probably going to use one of the 10 tire sets you have available. Jacks are up on both sides by the entire field. A quick stop by Jonathan Cofield, but a great stop by Joe Sanchez and Steven Stempien. How about the gain off of pit road by both of those Chevrolets? Stempien controls the field now at the exit, and Joe Sanchez finds his way to 3rd.
Just barely. I mean, that first pit stall, such an advantage here, as we'll slow it down just a little bit. But watch this right here. That cone is right at the nose of the 88. And unlike a lot of pit roads where, you know, you got probably a good 70 to 100 feet on that exit, it's right there. As soon as you press that throttle, all you have to do is floor it and get out of pits.
Ooh. I call that a photo finish out of pit road.
Yeah.
Steven Stempien, the pole sitter, going to hold on to the lead. And Cofield's going to have to do some of the dirty work to get around as Joe Sanchez, Lawson Peel, and Ross Harlow complete the top 5. Harlow having a pretty slow stop. It was 14.1 seconds, but I think overall from entry to pit road to exit, it was not good enough to beat the several drivers ahead. Mario Miranda, also one of those that lost a bit of time. He's back down in 6th place as a result of the pit road entry and exit. However, we know how fast Miranda has been, and so has Harlow, so probably no real danger for either of those drivers as we'll double them up and get back to green flag racing. One driver I want to take note of was the winner at Las Vegas. Colin Forster started dead last in this race, 37th. He's up 17 spots. There's the Dunkin' Donuts Camry. The Fast Banana Machine is inside the top 20, and after calling Las Vegas probably the most complete iRacing race in general that he's ever had, tonight he's looking to be on the comeback as he starts from the rear, and we'll keep an eye on that Dunkin' Donuts Toyota Camry as he continues to weave through the field. But a look up front, Steven Stepien and Jonathan Cofield, your row 1 from the drop of the green flag, is at the drop of the green flag up front at lap number 64 from Bristol.
And the 55 of Sanchez gets a good start, gets around Cofield as well. Now Lawson Peel going to try to take the high line here. Take him while you can. These fresh tires, this is the advantage for Peel. He's up to 3rd now, just by a nose.
And all via the outside lane, Drinkin' Bros Racing taking over 2 of the top 3 spots. Fresh off the restart, and how about another? Eddie Smith, the Ford Mustang, breaking into the top 4, making use of that top line to get around Cofield. And there's Miranda, Zach Wilson, heap of other drivers that are manning the top lane to get around the rookie.
Miranda's pretty much following suit with everything that Lawson Peel has been.
Cofield sent sideways right in front of the group, hit by Austin Reedy and goes sideways on the backstretch.
Oh, no.
Everybody gets through. Hunrada gives him a T-bone.
That's going to do it for Cofield right there. I thought he was going to get away with it.
Cofield.
Such a difficult track to lock it down and not get caught back up in something. It's almost like driving through a tunnel with it collapsing. And yeah, you can see he's checking the suspension there. It's knocked out.
He can barely steer that car. Cofield was getting swallowed up by the rest of the top 5. It was Sanchez, Peel, Smith, Miranda, and then Wilson right behind him. We'll take a look at exactly how the danger started. There was the heavy hit by Robert Hunrada, fellow rookie. Both of those drivers a part of Big Fish Motorsports, taken out in one fell swoop. And this is really how it all started. The exit of the corner off of 2 and a bit of contact between Wilson and Cofield.
It almost looked like netcode with how the car spun, though. It kind of shoved Cofield out of the way. We'll back this up one more time from the blimp camera. If you watch here, it doesn't look like they really hit each other. It was just a subtle little tap. Definitely not on purpose. I mean, on the 51 screen, he probably wasn't even really touching the 58, but I tell you who definitely got into him, though, the 37, that was a hard hit.
Again, 2 of the Big Fish Motorsports Camaros involved. Here's a look from Hunrada.
He got sent into him. I think somebody got into the back of him here.
A fresh look at what happened to Hunrada here. High aerial look, and I think it's going to be Chris Progar. Second look as they all check up. Yeah, Chris Progar.
It happens that fast here at Bristol, where guys will check up and it accordions quickly. We talk about the domino effect. Well, here at this racetrack, it's kind of self-cleaning, and you saw Cofield lock it down. He was almost out of harm's way. The racing groove, within 10, 15 feet, but everyone going to the outside, and that's all it took was that checkup to send a car his way.
You say it's like dominoes falling. Well, I say it's like a full-on avalanche. As Cofield got hit, goes up the hill, and then as he stops to avoid getting hit by anyone else, Robert Hunrada gets the speeding bullet to heaven, Kid Cudi style, and goes right into the side of Cofield. It's going to effectively take both of the Chevrolets out. I believe for Hunrada, will be able to continue, albeit with a pretty torn-up race car. Cofield, though, has disconnected. He's put his car behind the wall. So for the rookie, who started on the front row, his night is up. 71 laps in from Bristol. That has to be a tough pill to swallow, Bradley, because as a rookie, I mean, you're talking about the great competition we have in this series between veterans and newer drivers, either in their sophomore or junior seasons. And Cofield, this is really his first proper statement to everyone else about how fast he is, and that little bit of contact between himself and Zach Wilson takes him out, not demonstrating the full-on speed that he had so far in the race.
And the prestige of racing in this league alone, and then being up towards the front, a lot of these guys would just love a taste of it sometimes, and Cofield putting himself up front to start it out. He'll have it again. He'll have the success again, but it's going to be a tough one to just end like this.
Has to try and rebound at Texas 2 weeks from tonight. Green flag in the air. Restart for lap number 73. Stepien on 1 foot out to the gun early. Sanchez looking to stay with him on the high side. Looks like Smith and Lawson Peel in this bout for 3rd place. Miranda hanging through behind them. Pretty pack building up off of turn 4. Smith got a whiff of the rear end kicking out. Miranda siphons through the middle, slicing through this group, and here comes Miranda.
99 to the outside, again, just kind of following along right behind Lawson Peel. Now they're up into the top 5 positions. Joe Sanchez has not challenged your leader. Steve Stepien has been on point with how he's been driving right now. And everyone on the low line, you can see the attempts of passing back from Eddie Smith now for 4th.
Well, Stepien told us at the beginning of Las Vegas in the pre-race interview that he was baffled that he had won the first race of the season, but somehow Colin Forster was poked as the top driver in the standings. Well, he's further cementing his statement that he should be at the top spot of the standings after being bumped out when he quit early at Las Vegas due to the pain in his foot. And Stepien completing this comeback tonight. It would be only miraculous if the 88 can hold on for tonight's win and make it 2 for season 7. He holds on to what's now a half a second advantage over Joe Sanchez, fighting with Eddie Smith. Got a grip of the outside wall, and here comes Lawson Peel for the challenge.
Just for a moment there, I was gonna show the camera just to prove that this is really the 88 car behind the wheel here. So let's go on board with him one more time and show you he's doing it. And we don't have a pedal cam, but I guarantee that left foot's being used.
I wish we did. I wish we did. It would only tell you the full story, but Stepien is focused. He remains out front. Caution flag is going to slow him down. We're going to take a look at exactly what happened. It appears a pretty big stack-up involving Chuck Feltz and Garrett Brown. Prestige Worldwide Racing Ford Mustang involved, and there's a look at Feltz from Poman Motorsports. So here's the replay between the 2 Mustangs. Brown on the inside of that bright Bucky's machine, dark black, and Mac Gray, 75 of Feltz, going to be rolling on the high side. I believe a bit of contact between these two off the exit of the corner, and it starts right here.
It's just 2 guys coming for the same piece of real estate. You see the 90 get into that as well. So Sean Kalis is going to have some damage, but the worst of it goes to the 75 of Feltz. Let's back it up one more time here. There's not much racetrack left. And it goes against your instinct, Kenneth, to shoot it up towards that outside wall when you're already on the throttle and the back end's kicking it out. You don't really want to steer towards it. It just kind of fights you mentally. But that's almost what you have to do here. You're essentially dirt tracking when you come off these corners.
Also, too, that philosophy of I don't even want to be near the outside wall, because every time I get closer and closer to the barrier, I'm going to hit it at some point. For Feltz, he wanted to make sure that his insurance from his right side of the race car to the outside wall was as big as possible. Unfortunately, Garrett Brown didn't quite get the memo, washed up the racetrack, and made the slight contact. The racing incident between the two sends us under caution again here at lap number 83. And for Feltz, who went off of a 15th place finish at Las Vegas 2 weeks ago, something that definitely was very happy about, especially after starting back in 32nd. Well, this is really not the blow that he would have liked to have here early on from Bristol. For Garrett Brown, who comes off of a pretty poor finish at Las Vegas several weeks ago. Actually, not that bad. It was a 13th place finish, but he's going to be severely damaged. Aaron Adcock with a piece of it as well. Dustin Reeves, Sean Kalist, all those drivers who also got a hit as those two went up to the outside wall. So our caution now here at lap number 84, still pretty far away from the dawn of the end of stage number 1, and it remains Steven Stempien at the head of the field. Now, for one of the cautions we had involving the two Big Fish Motorsports machines, Jonathan Cofield and Robert Hunrada, the tertiary car involved that we really didn't talk about was the 96 of Austin Reedy, who at this point in time stayed out despite the damage he picked up. He's got a pretty big dent on the front end of that Toyota Camry, but the Fast Banana Toyota is running inside the top 6. And after we talked to him 2 weeks ago at Las Vegas, he told us that his confidence going into this track, Bradley, he told you, was very good. Short tracks are kind of my thing. I've gotten a lot better at them lately. Reedy, despite the damage, I don't think he really cares. His car's still performing well, and Reedy carving his way through the field tonight early.
Saw him just try to straighten that bumper out a little bit there on the back of Lawson Peel. But, yeah, he's confident coming in here to tonight. And, I mean, you have to be. If you're staying out there with a little bit of damage, you know that track position is key, so that means you're experienced at Bristol, and it probably won't affect that car too much.
Reedy started 20th. He's up inside the top 10. Green flag in the air once more. Another restart here from the Thunder Valley. Lap 86 of 400, and a quick getaway once more for Steven Stempien. We saw a bunch of drivers pitching each other inside the top 6 or so. Lawson Peel and Mario Miranda going at it. Meanwhile, Sanchez and Eddie Smith file off the rest of the top 3, and Smith on the attack.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Eddie Smith. He's been attacking this track, and that's almost what you have to do, especially when you can see the lead. He's right there. He can see that clean air in front of him, and he continues to use it on the outside here as they go through 3, almost into the wall as Lawson Peel gets to the inside.
Smith got stage points in the first stage at Las Vegas 2 weeks ago and looking to do the exact same thing tonight from Bristol, but he has to hold off defending Lawson Peel on the inside, and he's helped by Miranda. Then you look at Reedy, and now who stepped into the mix? Colin Forrester from dead last. He's up to 6th place.
Where did he come from? We were just talking about him earlier, and he was barely in 20th. Now he's up here in the top 5, flirting with the outside of Miranda.
Well, Forster has been shot out of a cannon as of late. Over the last yellows has picked up positions little by little. We haven't shed the spotlight on Forster quite yet, but the Jacksonville native forces his way on the outside, and he's got 4th.
Awesome job here for the 31 car. We're coming up on that stage 1, and he knows that this is the time to get the points. So maybe just relax these guys, a little hypnotized as they allowed the 31 car. Nobody really played defense. He's been carving his way through here.
And while Forrester didn't really lead a lot of Las Vegas, he led 48, and that was more than enough to get him his 2nd career Sunoco Cup Series victory. He has never won on a short track, so could this be another discipline that Forrester masters after starting last tonight and having to move his way through the hefty traffic in front of him? Currently holds on to 4th. His teammate Reedy on the inside lane, so we could have a side-by-side action between those two. Meanwhile, Joe Sanchez gets a huge run off of 4 that Stempien sees in the rear view mirror, and here comes Sanchez to lead a lap here from Bristol.
Looking like the 88 car maybe used up right front a little bit. He's struggling to be down there on the bottom, and he's getting freight trained now as you see Colin Forrester go by on the outside as well. It's a little deceitful when you're up here in that clean air. You don't have somebody to gauge your speed off of and know if you're over driving it. And I'm sure it's even multiplied by the fact that he's a little uncomfortable in this race already. Oh, a little contact there with the 96. Reedy gets the door slammed shut down the front stretch.
Stempien said, no way. Reedy getting forced out of line, but he's going to stay put where he's at. He's going to run the top lane in hopes of getting fill that outside lane.
Yellow
but there's
out.
carnage right in front. A slow car in front of the leader. It's Chris Progar hanging tough on the apron. He stays out of harm's way, but he goes for a slight spin, locks up all 4 wheels, and it really is a harmless slide. Caution is out regardless. So look at what happened with Pogar running in front of Richard Swavely.
It's a car blinking there. I don't know if this will have anything to do with it. It was the 37 of Conrada that was kind of like gone there when that all happened. I don't know if the contact still counted or if Pogar got loose. One more time here on board.
This is no contact at all. This is Pogar getting loose.
Ah, okay.
And I mentioned as well, remember earlier when I said, Bradley, that with these cars, they're so sensitive and fidgety that by the time you're sideways here at Bristol, you kind of don't really notice. You're not as in tune with the wheel. And so Pogar was loose. He really didn't take notice until he was already sideways and facing towards the inside wall. Boy, that is nightmarish when you're sideways like that and you countlessly play those scenarios in your head where you hit the inside wall and ricochet back up the racetrack. Fortunately for Pogar, he tapped on the brakes, let all 4 tires come to a halt, and just went for a pretty harmless slide. Other than some flat-spotted tires, he should be okay, although that is going to trigger our yellow this time at lap 100. Here's Jesse Whittington coming down pit road. We're keeping a keen eye on this, Bradley. One of the unique calls for pit road. First time we've seen it since lap 60.
Yeah, these guys coming in to top off, and we'll have about 20 laps before the stage break. They could look like geniuses, though, when everyone else comes down pit road. This might be part of the strategy to stay out. Track position, again, so key. So it could play into their favor when everyone else comes down pit road at 125.
Jesse Whittington, the winner at Charlotte Motor Speedway 1 season ago. Looking to get his first short track victory and looking to alternate the strategy quite a bit. He's going to fall deep in this top 30 at least. I'm not sure whether he's going to fully be kicked out of the top 30, but for Whittington it was a 14.5-second stop. Not entirely sure, but I guess he's just going to get the end of longest line penalty here.
Yeah, maybe got a passing on pit road. I don't know. It's probably the only thing because it didn't look like he sped, and these guys pretty good about not speeding on pit road. I know the embarrassment of speeding on pit road under caution is probably the second most frustrating thing you can do on the simulator.
It is, and here at Bristol, it can be quite easy to do before you really even notice. So 102 laps in, we're going to get the lights flickered off from the iRacing official pace car. There it is. So we'll be doubled up, ready for the restart. Bradley, look at this top 3. Could we say we expected this at the drop of the green flag? It was Stepien, Cofield, Ross Harlow, the heavy hitters to start. Now it's Sanchez, Smith, and last place starter, Colin Forrester.
Yeah, I mean, some of these names, I'm like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And then there's some names I'm thinking, okay, how much longer? We see the 99 of Miranda up here, 31 of Forrester. Those guys have kind of been sleeping on us right now, and I think here for the next 20 laps, we're going to see them really turn up the heat for these stage points.
Cresting on 20 laps to go into the end of stage 1. From the last great Colosseum, Sanchez the go-ahead early for turn 1 on the restart. Smith and Forrester having to go side by side. Smith is going to win that fight to the out of turn 2. Fast Banana occupies 2 spots in the top 5, and they are both running the inside lane, most of it with no choice. Forster's going to go up high. He'll shut the door on Steven Stepien, while Smith looks to find his way closer to the Ally Chevrolet.
Watch back here with Miranda. He's all over the back bumper of the 88 right now as they come down the front straightaway. He's looking to pick up another spot, but the 88 dives to the inside of the 31 of Forrester. This opens up the door now for Miranda. He's going to get what he wants.
And does Peel and company join him? Reedy has fallen back several spots. Miranda goes up high. He brings Peel with him. So Stepien all alone on the inside lane with nowhere else to go. Miranda's going to stay put in 4th place and challenge against Colin Forrester next up for 3rd.
And loose off the corner there. The 88 loses the rear end. Great save there, but he's going to lose a little more time. Shoemaker now contact. I believe that was with the 10 of Huffman, and he's going to fall back a couple more.
We had a bunch of cars wiggle at this sector of the field. It's around the top 15. And remember, these drivers were very closely or somehow involved in a recent caution. Shoemaker was hit earlier in this race, and while he didn't go sideways, he was almost a direct cause of the contact. There's Isaac Mock on the inside. Boy, they're shutting each other's doors on the top. Austin Shoemaker has played maximum defense on Chris and now on Curtis Kelly. We're door to door for 12th.
Oh, and a little touch on the safer barrier for the 71. That could have been catastrophic for Shoemaker if that car shot down into his door. They're going to hold on to it for a few more. 111, and the top 10 is single filed out.
There was Curtis Kelly, who now goes to the inside on Austin Shoemaker. Look at the contact between Forrester and Miranda. This is going to be 4th, 3rd, and that got really sketchy off the corner. Peel's going to fill the gap up top, so Miranda now stranded on the inside lane once more.
And Peel goes right on by. How frustrating is it when you pass these cars, you make one little miscalculation or a guy gets into you and you lose them all.
The real fear is getting shuffled out of line if you cannot make that inside lane work on the long run and out of your top 9 that have pulled away from everyone else. Alex Hoffman is the only car running the inside. Everyone else has found their way up the 28 degrees of banking, following in a choo-choo train behind your race leader, Joe Sanchez. Here's a look from Huffman.
And Huffman's just probably trying to get clean air on that nose, help some of that downforce and keep the tires on it. He's in the spot now where he knows he's picking up stage points. No reason to push, but these guys in front of him starting to get racy again. That could open up the door for him. He could continue to run his line and still pick up some spots.
And you've got 3 very interesting lines from your top 4 drivers. Sanchez, of course, just running the typical outside lane. Eddie Smith and Lawson Peel are implementing a bit of a high to low approach, more of a diamond arc. And then there's Miranda, who has been loyal to running the very inside to save his tires. The time is running out. If you want a stage win, though, we'll be approaching the final 7 laps in stage 1 from the last great Colosseum. Right now, it's all Joe Sanchez. Smith and company trying all that they can to alternate, but it's not really working. Peel now on the bottom of Forrester.
Taking him to the bottom here, and it hasn't worked out yet, but Peel really drives it off there 4. You can see he got a little bit sideways. He's going to stay to the door of the 31. Eddie Smith there on the outside, probably going to get this top 3 locked in.
Flag is out. 5 laps before we can get the end of stage 1, and it is Sean Kalist in trouble.
Well, I think that'll do it for the stage here with the pace laps. And we say officially, I think the 55 is going to get it here.
I heard Dakota Curtis hop over the radio and said, stage. So off of race officials, this will be the end of stage 1. So call it an early stage here from Bristol. And it's Joe Sanchez who swims away and gets his first stage win of 2024. Eddie Smith, Colin Forster to wrap up your top 3. We'll try to take a look at exactly what happened to Kalist. And it appears, Bradley, that was the same thing that happened to Chris Progard. Just loose off the corner, goes for a slide, and didn't hit anyone on the way out. As here's the field on pit road. So Joe Sanchez, Eddie Smith, Lawson Peel, Mario Miranda, and the rest of the gang will hop on to pit road as Colin Forrester and them looks like they have also all taken their trips to pit lane. Colin Forrester, I think, dropped out of this group. He just hit his pit stall, though, so he's on his way out, while everyone else has taken their trips in for 4 fresh tires and some fuel. And this is going to get them pretty much directly on a restart for about lap 125 or 126. Race out is a 4-way tie, and it's going to go the way of Lawson Peel. What a race.
That's as close as it gets right there. I mean, those guys were already 4 wide before they even got to the cone. They come out of their stalls, gave plenty of room to each other, so very courteous, but let's go back and watch that as well, because that was a great race off pit road.
Well, we got to take another look at that. Look at this. Everyone else on pit road, of course, with single pit lane here at Bristol. Obviously, pit stalls on either end of the speedway. You've got some drivers that come in earlier and then just strolling their way out. Look at this. Forrester, Sanchez, Smith, Miranda, and then Peel, barely getting by them all.
Sometimes that's what it takes. I mean, these guys have used that cone to their advantage. If you're up towards the end of pit road, like I said, it's almost just a matter of hit the throttle and get those tires to hook up so you can shoot out of there like a cannon. And then, you know, pit speed ends right there at that green cone. So once you're past it, you don't have to worry about it anymore.
You know, we've had good racing tonight on track, Bradley, but how about the racing off pit road? I think twice now we've seen the leaders go side by side in a photo finish style out of pit lane. I don't even think we can really call a leader out of pit road until it's over.
Yeah, and kind of the production of Bristol is that because of how tough it is to pass the racetrack. You're going to see a lot of guys, they're going to try to set up or maybe just take that extra little advantage, a mile per hour over for a second, or hopefully the car connects when they shoot out of that stall. Lost Appeal did it better than everybody else there at the end.
Well, Drinkin' Bros Racing captured their first ever stage win here at Bristol on behalf of Joe Sanchez. Well, it's going to be the first time that Lawson Peel for Drinkin' Bros Racing will have the lead here on lap 126 of 400, fresh off of stage number 1. Sanchez loose on the inside. Forrester wins the fight for second up high, and they have spread out quite a bit. Stepien, Huffman, and the gang all single file, fresh out of turn 4 as Peel looks to run away with it.
Back here in the 8th spot, Harlow and the 14 of Austin Shoemaker are side by side. We've kind of seen this a lot here tonight, Kenneth, where 8th place on back, it's really chaotic. A lot of side by side. We saw 3 wide at a couple moments there early in the stage. We're on 4 fresh tires. I'm looking to see it again.
And 3 drivers in this shot were in the cast and the ensemble for the show. We were watching just inside of the top 15 not that long ago. Austin Shoemaker, who rolled off 17th on the grid, is up to 7th. Curtis Kelly up to 9th place, and then Isaac Mock in that 47 Toyota Camry running the inside, who started 22nd and is now up inside the top 10. So they're continuing the phenomenal racing and just moving it slowly further up through the field as time progresses. There's a driver forcing his way through as of now, and it's Brandon Banks.
Looking back here a little bit deeper in the field, but these guys still getting racy. And Banks in the 54, we've talked to him quite a few times here on the broadcast, and he's sitting here in the 11th position, just outside the top 10. He's up 13 spots from where he began the race, and this is another one of those Colin Forrester moves where you feel like you passed a million cars, but at the end of the day, this is what you got to do at Bristol.
Former winner at another
That's the
concrete
Forrester
oval
off the
Dover
track.
Motor Speedway. Yeah, there's Forrester in
He
trouble.
I think he lost it. He's not going to lose a ton of positions. I think we go back and look at that to see what happened to him.
That was from second place. He was chasing down the leader, Lawson Peel. Here's another look at it. At the corner, it's going to be the next lap by that Forrester finds himself facing the inside wall. So he's pulled away from Sanchez. He's staying put with Peel. He taps the outside wall. And then here out of 4 goes sideways. What a save.
Yeah. I mean, he only lost, what, 4 or 5?
Oh, now we've got contact. Steven Stepien and Alex Huffman go up on the outside wall. That's officially the yellow. Stepien is torn up, and we've got more involved. Austin Reedy, Alex Muscarella. A trio collected in a pileup.
Looking here with Steve, he's not happy.
And much like the incident with Forrester, this happened inside the top 5. Stepien was running 4th. So Bradley, what happens here?
Contact with the 10. I mean, the 10 just ran into the back of the 88. I don't know what else to call it.
So casual contest up until Huffman gets to the back end of the 88. He lunges it into the corner and goes right up into Stempien. I don't think Stempien was fully anticipating that Huffman would have that much momentum coming out of the corner. And then on the way off the incident, there's Kip Easley giving him a shot. And it's Austin Reedy and Alex Muscarella that were coming down the racetrack in avoidance.
What happened to the
All of a sudden,
99?
they made contact.
Did you see that? The 99 of Miranda was in this hunt back here deep in this field behind all of this. And I'm not exactly sure how he got back there. We're going to have to probably back this up a little bit more. I mean,
Well, he started this stage pretty far back, so I imagine, Bradley, that was a pit road penalty he was assessed to get him back there in the first place.
He made things just kind of multiplied and made it worse there. He hit the wall. Of course, this happens in front of him here, so another situation entirely. Trying to sort all this out, but Stempien done for the day. Ray Rogers, Garrett Brown, Jonathan Cofield was the first one out, but that's going to do it for 4 cars here tonight. And I mean, if you're anybody up here in this top 3 right now, you're on borrowed time, it seems like, because we haven't seen the same top 5 really outside of Colin Forrester, who's had problems. He fell out. Shoemaker now up into the hunt. You had Eddie Smith, who's been pretty consistent, but when does it happen to you? That's the question, because a lot of mistakes tonight.
Yeah, you might be on pins and needles. You saw Forrester get into it. You saw Steven Stempien and Alex Huffman get into it. For Miranda, it wasn't even contact. He just got loose off the corner and overcorrected the race car and slammed it right up against the outside safer barrier. And you can imagine that was also some toe link damage that he faced, and it was. Miranda's going to get back out on the racetrack, but the bad luck continues for the Oklahoma native as he tries to catch right back up at the field. Austin Reedy, you can imagine he spent some extra time on pit road repairing what was the damage on his front bumper accrued from an earlier incident. And so multiple drivers up front experiencing either scares or full-on disasters. As we'll get ready for this restart nonetheless at the take of lap number 141. Green flag in the air. Peel's going to lead him back to the first corner. He's going to bring his teammate with him in Sanchez. Smith a little slow to get going, and Austin Shoemaker pushing through to a race-high 4th.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a missed shift maybe by the 87, but he falls back to the clutches of Forrester and Shoemaker. Forrester a little bit stronger on that outside, and now that Smith has it up to full song, it looks like the momentum is back. They're going to get back into their spots.
And look who's up now into the top 10 once more. It's going to be the 94 of Jesse Whittington. We sort of questioned the call that he took around lap 100 to come down pit road. Then he ended up finding himself on pit road with everyone else about 20 laps ago. So Whittington just equalized with the field. He's charging on the inside of Colin Forrester. All for naught, though. He'll back up and hit the reset button before he can try again. But as we've seen trouble come up for many heavy hitters in this race, Bradley, it has opened the door for a lot of those guys we weren't really seeing.
Oh,
in the
contact!
top 5, there is a 14 sideways and into the wall. Contact with Curtis Kelly sends him up there. It's getting ugly here at Bristol.
Yeah, I mean, the first stage, we ticked off, what, a good 60 laps before anything really crazy happened. Now it seems like some of the guys that haven't been in this top 10 are getting a taste of what it feels like, and it's getting crazier and crazier for the guys that want to get back to those spots.
Take a look at the contact that ensued between Kelly and Shoemaker. Again, just a slight contact. You're running so fast, you're running off the corner. And Bradley, comes back to the way you drive these next-gen cars. If you overcorrect them, sayonara, you're out of here. And for Shoemaker, and in the attempt to save the race car, just put too much wheel into it. And there goes the car. A look from Kelly, who escapes without much damage on his Toyota Camry, and he's going to hold on to 6th place. making that now the second Fast Banana Toyota Camry inside this top 10. Caution is out here at lap 147, a bit under 100 laps to go before the end of stage number 2. Well, we've turned the chaos dial up to 11. Don't go anywhere. We've got more coverage on the other side of the Sunoco Cup Series, live on VSPEED.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller, yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Back at Bristol, Drinkin' Bros Racing occupying the inside and outside of row number 1 after a chaotic stint leaves us under caution. And we're back under green to lap 151. About 100 laps to go until the end of stage number 2. Welcome back to our coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series, where alongside Bradley Cooper, I'm Kenneth Bueno. Bradley, we have seen it's all from Forster getting sideways to Stepien getting turned by Alex Huffman to Mario Miranda picking up a speeding penalty and then going head-on into the outside wall to give him pretty harsh damage. Now we've got mostly a different cast inside our top 5. Can we have anything confirmed here at Bristol tonight? I don't think so.
No, what you can confirm is this is a hard track to race, and it's starting to take its toll on some of these guys. If you weren't planning on it, it's going to happen to you, and so far, we've got 6, actually, Harnetta off the racetrack here. I don't know exactly what happened there with the connection issue or something, but the 37 car just fell through like a rock, and Lawson Peel takes over the lead here to start this second stage. He's probably in the best seat of the house right now, as far as nothing can happen to him per se. It's all in his control.
That is, unless he makes a mistake. We saw
Right.
drivers do that already, and it didn't have to involve other guys in the mix. They just got sideways all by themselves. And I didn't mention this earlier, but I was sort of hinting at it. This concrete surface can contain a lot of heat. We started this race with a track temp of around 101, and ever since, it has risen, Bradley. It is up to 109 on the track temperature. So you talk about a hard track to drive. When we started, well, it's become an even harder track to drive. Grip level wise, you're probably looking at a pretty squirrely race car. That's why we've seen a lot of those mistakes come up frequently as we're approaching halfway.
On this concrete surface is a little more forgiving. It doesn't absorb the sunlight quite like an asphalt surface. But as it rubbers in, you see those dark shades there in the corners. That will help the track absorb that sunlight. And then you get the tire heat, the factors of we get a long green flag run. That temp's going to continue to go up. And that's making the transitions here as we'll ride on board with the 94 Whittington. Remember, he pitted a little bit earlier than the rest of this field before the stage break. you can see how much he's starting to struggle with just overtaking or trying to pick a line here. He's hurting for grip.
And he's one of those drivers, 3 now inside the top 8 or so that are running that very bottom lane. There seems to be 2 different ideas at hand, whether you really want to run the top where you see a lot of those guys get great runs off the corner, or you want to stay faithful to the bottom, save your right front a little more, and be able to hold on as the run progresses, because a lot of drivers percept that the outside is the way to go. But if you run the inside long enough, you can see that outside start to wither as the run progresses, and the bottom will really be the preferred lane. You're looking at some guys experimenting with either lane to see exactly what's working. Forster attempted to look at the inside, and all of a sudden it opened up all the space for the tied Ford Mustang of Eddie Smith, the rookie, finding his way back inside the top 3. An impressive run so far tonight for Smith.
When if you're not familiar with running down there on the bottom, this could be the challenge now at this point where the top's not quite as fast, and if you're more confident and comfortable, you see Eddie, he's been pretty dedicated to that high line up near the wall. Forster also seems like he's struggling kind of like Whittington right now, where the car's just not handling to his liking, and he's hunting for that line where he can get it back to speed.
Just experimenting with what's right, what's wrong. Forster, though, dropped several positions. He's back to 5th. For Eddie Smith, got a big run on Joe Sanchez and held back before he can unleash all of the momentum he carried off the corner. This time, he's going to be right up on the back bumper of the 55. And as much as Sanchez would like Smith to run on the inside, Smith has the better judgment. He wants to fill the gap up on the top side. He doesn't want to run the inside for now if the high side is giving him the best momentum off the corner. So Smith is going to run up here. He'll fill the space for a moment, almost rush the outside wall, but off the corner is where he really picks up the gap. And here, Bradley, again, you're playing the game of lines. And for Sanchez, he's sort of flirting with his own experimentation of running mostly the middle line and curling it down to the inside as soon as the corner comes to an end, while Smith is desperately trying to be up top. I mean, do you even try the bottom for Smith, or is that the fear that you're going to be abandoned by the pack behind you as soon as you touch the bottom groove?
Right now, I think he has enough of a gap behind him with Curtis Kelly that he could try it one time. He's getting a really good run on the 55. Who's struggling here. You saw him just tag the wall. If he could use the outside, get that good run, carry it into the inside, and clear him, it might be beneficial. But if he gets side by side with him for too many laps, I think Curtis Kelly, Colin Forster, these guys are going to catch back up to him as you see a change for position. Look like Colin Forster must have found that spot. He's in that middle line now.
Kelly and Shoemaker behind them might just be losing a ton of time as they remain door to door with Jesse Whittington having the front row seat just behind this battle for 5th place. Shoemaker's going to win the fight. Kelly falls back, and now Whittington challenges on the inside. And quick work out of the Columbia Toyota Camry for Fast Banana. Jesse Whittington slides right back up into P6, which was the same position he finished in 2 weeks ago at Las Vegas, and is one of a couple drivers who have been able to get top 10 finishes in all 2 races of the season so far, looking for a 3rd straight. Whittington came home 4th in our season opener at Daytona. Keep an eye on Whittington's Chevrolet Camaro. He always has something up his sleeve, and is always really sneakily fast. Started 12th in this race. Whittington currently running nicely inside the top 10. Looks like everybody, mostly Bradley, has separated from each other. This might be the most thinned out we've seen this field thus far. Here's Harlow diving on the inside on Curtis Kelly. Kelly going to drop another spot.
It looks like Kelly's probably lost the right front tire. He's not able to carry off the corners like the rest of these cars. There's Zach Wilson also getting to the inside. Seems like right near the apex when you should be back on the throttle. The 71 is coasting just a little bit longer. And there's another position. Kelly at the verge of going out of the top 10. I tell you, though, Lawson Peel, he's kind of showing these guys around this track. He's putting the 99 in Marinda a lap down now. He's pulled out 0.8 of a second over Sanchez, and this top 3, they're spread out. It's getting calm again, Kenneth.
2 things of note there. You saw Curtis Kelly falling back to 9th place, and this is sort of the same trend that befell him 2 weeks ago at Vegas, where he had top 10 speed early. Then the tires started to kick in through the run. Kelly just started to fall back, and here's the next driver in line. It's going to be Shane Wyatt on the the 27 car, Justin Winters not too far behind. What a decent run by Winters tonight for Allen's Legacy Racing. As Wyatt dives underneath, Camaro picks up the spot. Kelly now at the very edge of the top 10, so has that chance of losing out on critical points if he's not able to stay up here in the next, give or take, 70 laps until lap 250, and then his teammate Austin Reedy isn't too far either.
And Reedy's been one of those guys that snuck up into both into the wall here. That's not going to help at all.
Oh, he gets into his teammate.
And a
27, and around goes
22.
Winters. Right in front of Richard Swavely. A costly mistake. And Swavely is not happy about that at all.
I think this starts, though, with those guys in front of the 22. It's not really his fault. Winters just got caught up with both those guys hitting the exit wall.
You're right. It all started with those Fast Banana teammates, and not sure whether that was desperation for Reedy to get around or whether he thought he could really make it out the corner safely. But in turn, it just creates the ripple effect that Richard Swavely and Justin Winters have to deal with. And I believe there Bradley Swavely thought it was Winters' fault. They get into a bit of on-track drama right at the aftermath of the incident.
I think the 22 just kind of got tunnel vision there with the guys in front tagging the wall, and we'll be right on board here with Swavely and show you what he saw. Well, that's a good shot of what he saw, but let's back it up a little more. These guys racing really hard side by side, and Reedy had caught up. He went to the outside with the 71 on the 22. Thought they were going to get clear of him, but then they both hit the wall here. Another tag with the wall with a 71. Yeah, I couldn't really put that on the 22. Yeah, it's tunnel vision at Bristol. That's all it is.
Lack of real estate. They both get into each other. Swavely pretty livid about the contact between the two and sends Winters right back up to the outside wall. And Winters was running well, picking up through top 10 position after Alex Huffman, his teammate for Allen's Legacy Racing, sort of got bumped out of there after getting into Steven Stempian. And after they both got into a pretty significant hit, Huffman is 48 laps down in 33rd. Now Winters, the second team member of that group to be involved in an accident tonight. Drivers, though, have hit pit road. Leader Lawson Peel led everyone in here at lap number 185. And the good news for Mario Miranda, he gets his lap back. The race out of pit road, not as close as we would like for first, but Peel's going to win it.
I thought we were going to see another one. I thought for sure they were going to come out. Peel actually had a couple tenths there on the exit over Sanchez. So Austin Shoemaker, Mario Miranda, they stay out. I mean, if you're Miranda right now, he's going to come back in. So it seems like he's second-guessed this decision. But the 14 stays out, and he's going to lead some laps. Right now, we're approaching that second stage. 38 laps on the stint. If you're Shoemaker right now, you've maintained this top 10. I don't know. I don't know about this call.
Well, this caution comes nearly in the middle of stage number 2, which is sort of the same phenomenon we experienced in the first stage, right? Remember, we got the caution around lap 60. Everyone came in for stops. We had to go another 65 laps, and then the caution came out early before we could really get the proper end of stage 1. You're in stage 2. It looks to be a mirror image of what's exactly going down. As of lap 186, everyone comes in, and Austin Shoemaker will stay out for just as much as he can muster to recover after the big crash that happened to him when he got into the outside wall. For Lawson Peel, this may be Bradley, the champion, returning back to form at Daytona and Las Vegas. Neither of those races went his way. We questioned whether Peel could rebound in any one of those contests, and really the answer was no. Tonight he's led a pretty good amount of laps. He led 44 laps the last time we were at Concrete Bristol, and that ended up in a race victory back in Season 5. Is this the two-time champ getting back to work?
He's back in form, back in stride. Looks really good from this perspective. But I think he got to get back with me here in about 220 laps.
Well, here's the green flag. Shoemaker to take it. Peel on the inside. On the fresh tires, they're going to zoom past Shoemaker. And the question is really, how long can Shoemaker last? Well, not that long before the caution comes out. There was an absolutely slow car on the inside lane. It was going to be Richard Swavely. Kip easily sideways off the corner. Swavely is going to say, I don't know why that was a caution. He was slow on the inside lane coming out of pit road.
I think it might have started back here with Easley. Let's go back here on the replay and try to sort this out.
Well, this is a second incident on the way out. Kip easily getting hit by Sean Kalist. But really what caused the yellow was the mellow yellow car of Swavely. So he comes out of pit road. Meanwhile, leaders are running green flag laps. Coming out as business as usual. Hits this transition, and this is the first time we see this. Hitting the transition on the apron. Car's going to go sideways, and while he saves it, he's going to be right in front of the entire pack. And that's the yellow.
I almost had a play on words for that, Kenneth, but I didn't know if it was poor taste, the mellow yellow, if you will.
The mellow yellow car bringing out the yellow? Is that what you were going to say?
That's what
All
I
right.
was going with, but I...
Not a tasteful incident, I would say.
No.
For Swavely. Second incident that he's involved in. Theoretically, you wouldn't really call this an incident just because he didn't get into anyone, but Swavely, nonetheless, a bit of sideways action is going to bring us under the caution flag. Here at lap 191. You can call this a similar accident to the one that Chris Progar had earlier in this race, where he got loose off the corner and going sideways, locked up all 4 Goodyear tires. But then the caution still waved regardless, even if he didn't hit anything or anyone. So it's going to have Lawson Peel sit behind the iRacing official pace car for a little longer. And we mentioned that Lawson Peel might be coming back to form, leading some laps here at Bristol and being one of the cleanest cars on the racetrack. Well, how about a return to form from 2 weeks ago with Joe Sanchez, who finished in 7th in Sin City. He's run nicely inside the top 5 after starting in 10th. How about the run from the DBR Chevrolet of Sanchez? An underrated run tonight from Bristol.
I mean, 28 laps led. He's been up here in the top 5. He's been one of the few consistents that we can say in the top 5. And, you know, right now with Peel and these guys in front of him, he's just kind of ticking away the laps. You can go into the stage break knowing that you've got solid points, and we probably haven't seen the full potential of this 55 car just yet.
Well, Sanchez is in the same group as Jesse Whittington, looking to finish in the top 10 for the first 3 races of the season. Finished well at Daytona, then of course, like we mentioned, another top 10 run at Las Vegas, and running nicely inside the top 2 here from Bristol. So we'll double them up and do it all over again. Lawson Peel, the control car, with 10 cautions tonight. This will be our most recent restart. At lap 194, we're approaching the final 60 or so laps until the end of stage number 2. It's Peel and Sanchez in row 1, Austin Shoemaker and Eddie Smith. Inside-outside row number 2, then Chris Shoemaker, Colin Forrester, Ross Harlow, Jesse Whittington, Zach Wilson, and Austin Reedy to complete the rest of the top 10. Pace car peels off, and Peel to the jump.
So running that outside line for Eddie Smith, he's trying to gain some positions, but I think, Kenneth, what you talked about earlier, that outside's starting to wither away, and it's just not as fast. You can see he's losing about half a second, and just that lap and a half dash. The 55 running the inside with Peel, it seems to be working out a little bit better for him.
Oh, look at the pull away between the 2 Chevrolets, Sanchez and Peel, getting out to a pretty decent gap to Eddie Smith, and then we're going side by side for 4th place. Austin Shoemaker thought he was going to get eaten alive by the pack, and he's staying up here. Chris Shoemaker near the middle, Austin Reedy looking on the inside. We almost had a 3-wide fight for position inside the top 5, an onboard look with Reedy.
Reedy has not been afraid to force the issue. We saw it earlier. He was on the teammate at Curtis Kelly, and he is having a little bit of a connection issue here, but he has forced the nose in there several times, and he'll do it again if they give him the opportunity.
The Shoemaker is playing this perfectly. He's on 51-lap old tires and still hanging with Forrester, Reedy, and Chris Shoemaker about to make contact. That was off of turn 2. Reedy desperately looking to get back into the fight. Remember that bit of contact that he had at one of our earlier cautions? He got that all repaired. His car is fast, and the North Wilkesboro All-Star Race winner from last season is looking to continue some of the short track success if he can get by the 2 Shoemakers.
Well, that's a tall order, is it not? And you know what? After watching that podcast last week, I have to say there's more than just 2 brother complexes out here. We got another group, and I don't know if you knew this or not. Do you know Dakota Curtis has a brother out here?
Really?
I believe so. I'll let you guess who it is.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not. I feel like I'm gonna get it wrong. I'm not entirely sure. Do you mind giving the answer?
I'll give it to you in a minute. I don't want to get it wrong either.
I'll let you get to the thinking tank. While Eddie Smith looks to get on the attack towards Joe Sanchez. He's picked up a couple tenths since the last couple laps off the restart. Last lap for Smith inside the 14.9s, while Sanchez and Peel just setting laps in the 15 flats. So it appears Smith is starting to hop on the aggression tablet, while Peel and Sanchez remain consistent on the inside lane with the overarching strategy of saving their tires. Smith now challenging hard on the top side for Sanchez. Can he fill the space off before? He cannot, but he's there.
It almost didn't work out. The 87 got the nose there, and Sanchez now catching up to Peel. These guys making up a ton of momentum in the closing of this stage. I told you we didn't see what the 55 had on full potential. We kind of closed that first stage out a little short. He didn't really have to turn up the heat, but now, with about 20 laps remaining, he has to go for it.
And he also has to force his hand a little more just because he understands that there's a bright orange Ford Mustang that's filling up all the space in his rear view mirror, and this might also help the 4th car in that line. There's the Dunkin' Donuts Camry of Colin Forrester. You can't really forget about him. As soon as these two go side by side, that's Forrester's dinner tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway. He can capture another position and then a furthermore one to get some points. There's Smith on the outside of Sanchez. He's gonna make this quick. Smith up the second.
Taking it away, I think Smith is starting to show what he has potentially. Lawson Peel just sitting up here quietly in the clean air. He's maintained this 0.3 of a second gap, but it's starting to dwindle away a little bit now.
And for Smith, does he continue to push the envelope?
Sideways.
Peel is loose. Off of 4, even more ammunition for Smith. It is close here at Bristol. Waning laps before stage 2. Peel's in the wall. Smith to the inside. And Eddie Smith, for the first time tonight, gets the race lead. Peel back on the inside to fight.
That's what you got to do. But that car does not look like it's handling like it was at the beginning of this stage, and he is burned off the right rear.
Joe Sanchez hasn't picked up time either. And Colin Forrester inches closer to the 2 Drinkin' Bros Racing Chevrolets. Smith being one of the only guys to run the very top in this run off the restart has used it to perfection. The rookie driver for Po-Man Motorsports takes advantage and could give the team its first stage win if it can hold on.
It's looking that way, but don't count out a caution, ladies and gentlemen. This could happen at any time. We've seen these cars. There it is. I spoke it into existence. Why did I say it?
Oh, no. There's Logan Sturgeon involved as well. He was the slow car on the bottom. Talked about Shoemaker keeping up with the top 5 off the restart on the oldest set of tires. I guess it just hit the cliff. There's Logan Sturgeon getting back up to speed. He was basically directly involved in the impact. So here's another look at it. Shoemaker in the fight with Wilson again. He's on old turn tires, so he's holding on for as much as he possibly could. I don't know. It looks like the real estate ran out there again, Bradley. These are racing incidents we're looking at. There's another car involved before the 45 machine.
I mean, Shoemaker's on the outside. He has nowhere else to go. There's no more track up there. I don't think he came down. The 26, they kind of met right there at the exit. One more time for the blimp here. I'd like to say Shoemaker was probably going to come out the other end of this corner. I don't think he was loose.
Yeah, it looked like a normal arc. Sturgeon might have just floated a little too high. There's James Kunkel getting a piece of it. Dustin Reeves involved in the impact as well. Really nowhere they could go as they crammed out all the lanes available here at Bristol. Here's another look at the contact, this time from Sturgeon's POV. Lucky that they didn't go into the inside wall, but for Shoemaker, it wasn't really the best spell. And then Schoonover sends Sturgeon around for a spin.
If you're up here in the top 10, Kenneth, I think you stay out, which is exactly what happened. It seemed like everybody from 15th on back has come down pit road. But if you're Eddie Smith, lost appeal, you're not going to take the chance. You're in a good spot right now. You don't want to get too deep in this field. There's not enough laps left, I don't think, to get all these spots to get back to the lead. So right now, 87, 12, two different handling machines. It seems like Eddie Smith's done a little bit better job than Peel of keeping that right rear on the car. What do you think's going to happen in the end of this second stage?
I don't know. I see Peel and Sanchez still employing the strategy they had earlier in the stint before the yellow. Run the inside until you have your tires good enough to last the run. You still got at least 30 or so laps before the stage ends, so you really want to hold on to as much tire life as possible. For Smith, I don't know if he's going to jump the gun anymore, though. He's been pretty aggressive to get past Sanchez and then by the race leader. Now that he has the clean air and the advantage, I'm not sure whether it's really necessary anymore. What do you think, Bradley?
I mean, just keep driving it the way you've been driving it. He's been up on the high line for a lot of this race, which we thought would wither away, but he's been doing it better than everybody else who's watched the rest of this field commit to the bottom. He's still up on the high side, and maybe it's saving that tire on the right rear. I don't know.
Ready for the restart with roughly 30 to go until the end of stage 2 from Bristol. Smith the leader, Peel on the outside, Sanchez and Forster inside outside, row number 2. Keep an eye on for Forster. He was pretty quick near the end of this stint before the yellow. Then it's Chris Shoemaker, top 5, Reedy, Whittington, Harlow, Progar, and Wilson. Your top 10. Good restart for Smith. Peel sticking with him though to turn 1.
Shark in the water, smelling blood right now for the 12 machine. He's going to go to the inside here in 3 and 4. It's going to be tough to get by because Eddie Smith, again, that fast line for him all day has been the outside. He's going to play great defense here and keep Peel behind him. Here on lap 223, he has the stage in front of him. He just has to survive for about 25 laps more.
No impractical jokers, but Joe was the biggest loser on the restart. He dropped from top 3 position to 8th and got swarmed by everyone on the outside lane. Now they are door to door, rows ahead of him. Ross Harlow, Zach Wilson, Jesse Whittington, a trio fighting for 5th, while Peel maintains the inside. Had a look on Smith for the lead. Here's a look at Harlow.
Harlow doing a great job here. I mean, we talked about him at the start of this race, but then he kind of faded away. He's back into the hunt now for the second stage, and he's in position for the points now as they come up 25 to go.
But he has to deal with Sanchez, the Chevrolet on the outside. There he is peeking into frame, and he'll pop up again off of turn 2. Bit of smoke up ahead, but no real trouble. We're going to stay green. The fast Banana Camrys might go at it for 3rd place. Forster and Reedy are creeping up next to each other. Forster's going to grab a bit of the outside wall, but it could get contentious. And then you ask the question, Bradley, do you run for individual sake, or do you work as a team to get by Peel and Smith?
Well, we saw right now these guys are in such good sync that they are hitting the wall together. That's the second time we've seen Fast Banana follow each other into the wall. But right now, I think it's every man for himself. You're talking about points. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about you and where you stand in this points position. You have to go up there. You can't rely on the 96 to do something. Bristol's just not one of those racetracks where it really matters, so you got to push it, and let's see what he's got. Closing laps, 20 to go.
Well, someone who really needs points is that 51 car on the inside of Austin Reedy. RTR Motorsports' Zach Wilson wasn't in attendance 2 weeks ago at Las Vegas, dropped 18 spots in the point standings as a result. If there is anyone in this field who really needs a nice points finish, whether it's stage 2 or the checkered flag, it's going to be this man right here. Wilson slides in front of Reedy, so he splits the Fast Banana duo, and he is one of the several guys using a curl-in strategy on the exit of the corner. Forrester slaps the outside wall. Wilson challenging for third. We're about to be coming up to 15 laps to go until the end of stage 2. And caution is out again. A big stack up on the back straightaway. Richard Swavely and Robert Hunrada. A dose of disaster for Hunrada, who was involved in an incident earlier in this race involving his teammate Jonathan Cofield. But as they stack up with Chris Progar and company, Hunrada goes head on into the wall. Bradley, what happened here?
I think a checkup in front, maybe. Yeah, we'll check up by Progar. It sent the 32 into the. Oh, man. That was a hard lick there for the 28 into the back of Hunrada. And yeah, it starts with Progar here. Back it up one more time. You can see the 7 car just a little bit off the pace here, and the Swavely gets into the back of him. And that's what caused the chain reaction.
Swavely there in the eye of the hurricane. There was no quiet, but a lot of noise there in the midst of all that. Casey Knighton getting a piece of this. Here's a look from the Dr. Pepper Camry. Contact will ensue at the exit of turn 2. See all the smoke pop up. There's the first bit of contact, and hard into the wall goes Swavely and Hunrada. Nowhere for Knighton to go. He gets to hit on Hunrada as he travels down the racetrack. Well, a lot of them hit pit road, looking to fix their race cars. Meanwhile, everyone else up front for preservation and for points are going to stay out with around 14 laps to go in stage 2. This is going to get really close, Bradley. I figure we might have an under 10-lap dash to the stage finish. And we have some drivers getting down pit road. Ross Harlow is in. Alex Muscarella is also in. Dustin Reeves, Chris Progar, Mario Miranda. Brandon Banks also involved in this group.
Well, and this is kind of going back to what we saw earlier. Remember, I think it was Jesse Whittington that did this in the first stage, and not very many guys tried this strategy this time around. We're right at the end of this stage versus I think it was about 20 laps the last time. So now you're almost perfect, and you'll be able to stay out. The rest of the field in front of you will come down pit road on that stage caution and get 4 fresh tires. So you could fix to gain anything you might have lost back. You just got to be careful, though, because you're going to have some guys in front of you that are on older tires. You're going to have to judge and not get into them and bring out another yellow.
That old tire, new tire fight, we talked about that ad nauseum from Las Vegas, where, you know, it's a 1.5 mile track. You carry a lot more momentum, and the difference between old tires and new tires was so stark. Here at Bristol, it's a little closer than you'd imagine. However, you know, take Austin Shoemaker for an example, right, on old tires, just how much of a disadvantage you carry yourself at. And these guys who are pitting now, they really want the track position once the stage caution comes out. And if they're going to be on older tires, they are willing to take that risk. It's just about how much of a risk are they willing to take until, you know, there's a breaking point and they get involved in an accident that they really want to avoid. So here we are, the restart at lap 239. About 11 laps to go until the end of stage 2. It's all Eddie Smith at the helm of the field. Peel and company to react. Green flag in the air, and this really helped Zach Wilson, who might snag away second out of turn 2. We're almost 3 wide for the lead.
Hill was down there on the bottom. I thought we were going to get a good shot on board with Zach Wilson. I just missed there on that camera change, but Wilson got a great restart. He's still peaking at 3 wide. He's on the outside of Peel, and he pinches him down on the exit.
He's running the middle. He wants to keep Peel down there for as long as physically possible. Smith is going to run away with it, cross to the line. 10 laps to go into the end of stage 2 from Bristol. And here's Jesse Whittington now filling the space to where Lawson Peel can slide up. Is the 12 car in trouble?
I think he is, and this is great for Eddie Smith because that's been the only car that's really challenged him speed-wise. Now, we haven't really seen what Zach Wilson can do, but we might not have enough laps to see it.
And look who's finding his way in.
Oh!
Contact with Whittington. Kunkel sends him sideways. Whittington goes right into the field. A big one on the front straightaway.
Seven, 8 cars involved in that, and Whittington getting heavy damage. The 26 of Sturgeon missing the front end. And that all starts with contact. Undeniably.
Kunkel came rambling in, snagged the 94 on the way off the corner. And then he gets hit by Kelly, by Sturgeon, by Chris Shoemaker, and everyone else is going to pile in. Take a look here from Curtis Kelly and Sturgeon. Kunkel slides up. This is going to be about the next corner. 45 is going to dive underneath Peel, go right up into Whittington. And then here's everyone else. Oh, boy.
I think that was Progar that came in after the fact.
That's so ugly for Whittington. You got to imagine that's really a dagger for Whittington's hopes of making a good run out of Bristol, which is, of course, known for chaos like this, but he just gets sent around by Kunkel, who for the first time has implemented himself into the top 5. Now Whittington has to pay the price.
Yeah, that looks like the streak of top 5s is over with here, or top 10s rather, and you know, it's bound to happen, but you know, early in the season, it's better that it happens now and you get back to those 1.5 miles where you can recover versus late in the season where we get into chase time and something like this could probably end the season for you and the championship hopes. So still a lot of racing left to go. Again, doesn't look like the 94 is totaled, but it might not be one of those days for him to get that top 10.
And that was our biggest crash thus far. We had basically 6 to 7, 8 cars you can count involved in that accident, as some drivers hit pit road early. Colin Forster is going to be one of them, so he's electing for track position fresh off of the stage. Of course, Aaron Adcock and Curtis Kelly come down for damage reasons. Austin Reedy also hit pit road. And then you look at, of course, Whittington, who's in. Sean Kalis, who's coming out. Chris Shoemaker is letting drivers by, but he also came down pit road. Brad Fulham, Kip Easley, a bunch of wounded race cars, whether that was directly because of this incident or not, all looking to recover what they have lost here at the last great Colosseum. It is not being kind to the Sunoco Cup Series field. We have very much breached the 10 caution level, and we're in double-digit territory here from Bristol as we'll get ready for what might be a 2-lap dash to the stage.
Looking that way. We're going to kind of have a green-white checker in effect for this stage break. Eddie Smith, he's defended well, but I look to see with what Zach Wilson tried on that last restart, Eddie's about to have his hands really full.
And how do you attack this if you're Wilson? How aggressive are you willing to be for the stage win?
Well, I think if you can get inside the leader, you try to take it. But if you're behind him, you don't want to get too aggressive, risk taking him out of yourself. Just run your own line and see what happens.
Final 2 in stage 2. Eddie Smith the leader, Zach Wilson on the inside. Smith up first, green flag in the air, and the chase back to turn 1. Kunkel's going to go side by side with Isaac Mock, who's up for a race high 3rd place. Wilson is there, he backs out. Final lap in stage 2, Wilson's going to arc it down low for the last challenge, but Smith will hold on to win stage 2. Caution comes out, and it's Eddie Smith's first ever Sunoco Cup Series Stage W.
Congratulations to Eddie Smith, VSPEED's very own out there, showing the speed at Bristol. He had to defend probably 5 different names once he took over that lead. Everybody was going for that piece of real estate, and well done there by the 87. I think it was just as simple as putting the Tide machine out there on the racetrack, and the paint scheme change seems to be paying off. The yellow stripes blend in a little more there with that paint scheme. They're kind of fade away on the rookie.
Well, he's driving like there are no yellow stripes on the back end of that Ford Mustang.
Right?
Smith a W in stage 2. Zach Wilson, what a great way to recover after being earlier in the race around the top 15 and sort of meandering around that area of the race. Moved up to 2nd. This could be the turning point for Wilson as everyone will come down pit road. And this, of course, is going to be the consensus call. 4 tires and fuel. No one's going to stay out unless you're Austin Reedy and the gang who want the track position over all else. They pitted several laps ago. So Eddie Smith won't have the outright lead off of the caution, but you'd imagine that with Smith's pace, Bradley, it could be good enough to get him back to the front if he's able to.
Yeah, just approach it the same thing you did on the last run where you saved the tires and let those guys go up there and hunt. Eddie did a phenomenal job with that. He kept it back where he needed to and then waited for the opportunity. You know, the cautions have kind of changed things in these final stages of the race, so we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But so far, so good for Eddie Smith. And again, the 51 to do what he did and come up here. I'm excited for what this race entails. It looks like the 3 car maybe 2 tire stop.
Yep, 9.1 seconds. Ross Harlow with an alternate call to get himself ahead of Zach Wilson and company. Zach Wilson lost the race off pit road to Eddie Smith, so he's going to let him by everyone else as scheduled, but it is going to be Austin Reedy who leads them out. Aaron Adcock, Austin Shoemaker among those that will hoist the track position once we get to the next restart. Well, just to let you know that coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series is brought to you by Sunoco, fueling victories from track to tank. By Max Pappas Innovations, setting the standard in steering wheels and other racing innovations. And by sksimracing.com. Drive what champions drive. Austin Reedy, the race leader. And he told us 2 weeks ago at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, that he was confident about racing here at Bristol Motor Speedway. He said short tracks are kind of his thing, and he's gotten a lot better with them lately and over the last several seasons here in this series. While he has not been able to capture a victory outright in this series from Bristol, he might be inching a little closer to it. But now, Bradley, there are no stages to be the saving grace. It's going to be the next 150 laps under green, if we can log them that way to the checkered flag.
We'll get set back to go green here. Reedy and Adcock, these guys have not been up front much today, not in the lead, rather. The 17 is in complete recovery mode. We've seen him involved in almost everything here tonight. So I'm interested to see if he can maintain this top row. But Reedy's been fast. He just hasn't had this clean air. So this might be a change for him for the better.
Green flag back in the air. Fresh out of stage 2, Austin Reedy, the new race leader. Harlow and Adcock set to fight for second. They're banging doors for third on back. Wilson is very loose off the corner, but he saves it.
That's not what you want to see if you were that second stage winner. He's sideways coming out of 4. He's going to lose a ton of positions, and the 45 gets tagged by Peel. It's complete chaos from 10th on back, the 48 of Muscarella.
Oh, poor 48 of Muscarella in the middle of the field. No one else is going to hit him. But he was directly involved in the contact between James Kunkel and Lawson Peel entering the corner. Absolute mayhem on the restart. and it's Muscarella involved. Here's the replay, and it begins with Eddie Smith. There is just James Kunkel and Lawson Peel. They make the contact. Kunkel with a miraculous save, but travels down the racetrack into Muscarella. No fault of Alex whatsoever there.
Yeah, he was just an innocent bystander for that entire situation. We'll go back one more time here and look at what happened. Eddie Smith came off the next corner here, completely sideways. He saves it. Then the 45 gets a little contact from Peel going into the next turn. He saves it. But then Muscarella down on the bottom. Yeah, he wasn't done saving it. The car got loose again. That right rear was probably a little angry.
Yeah, Kunkel did a great job of holding on to it mid-corner, but then fresh off the corner, just travels down the hill. And the same was for Lawson Peel. He was also pretty guilty of going down low off the corner, so either he lost the race car as well or what may have you, but it's the contact between Kunkel and Muscarella that's going to send each of them for a caution at lap 260 as we cross the line. Don't go anywhere. It's been chaotic from Bristol, but we still got more to go before the checkered flag for the Sunoco Cup Series live on VSPEED.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller, yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
Welcome back to coverage of Race 3 in Season 7 of the Sunoco Cup Series live on VSPEED. Bradley Cooper and Kenneth Winna with you. Had a really big crash off of the stage to finish involving multiple drivers. And it is Austin Reedy and Ross Harlow to bring us back underway. Reedy to jump the gun before turn 1. Harlow to file into second. Austin Shoemaker and Aaron Adcock set up again for the match. In this top 3, Joe Sanchez looks to fill the space up top, while Ross Harlow dives underneath for the lead.
Harlow making another big move here on Reedy. Just can't complete the pass. He almost gets into him. There's Reedy tag the wall. We've been seeing that a lot from the 96. The right side almost completely worn off. Now he has no idea where he is. That connection issue with the 96 has been also another thing that's been constant. He's really having an issue.
Harlow fiddled with the trigger for several laps, but held back on fully pulling it as the 96 Reedy is suffering some of the internet connectivity issues. League owner Dakota Curtis is giving him a fair warning to sort things out before any EOL penalties might be assessed. Meanwhile, Austin Shoemaker and Joe Sanchez go at it for third place. Eddie Smith, Lawson Peel, and Zach Wilson have filed nicely through around the top 7. And this is really where the test is going to be for Eddie Smith, Bradley, because now he's in the midst of traffic, drivers who have stayed out. And sure, he got around Lawson Peel and company to win stage 2 earlier. It's all about, can he do it again?
But he's still committed to that high line. It seems to be working for him. Back to the outside of Sanchez. He's got the 14 kind of taking that clean air away, so it's not been quite as effective, though. He's going to have to find that hole here. maybe use up Sanchez on the bottom, but Lawson peeled back into the hunt now.
Smith, a diamond in the rough for Poman Motorsports, who has most of their drivers not doing the best so far tonight, unless his teammate Aaron Adcock is in the mix.
3 wide.
Smith looking through the middle. That was right underneath Shoemaker, and that got so sketchy. Peel now on the inside.
If you're Eddie, you're just going to back out of that. There's no reason for him to want to go 3 wide right now. Heel said, I got the opportunity. I got the tires. I'm going to take it. 14 car kind of holding up Eddie Smith. He's going to have to take the inside. Unfortunately, the 14's running the same line as him right now. Oh, peeled loose.
Peel holds on to it, though. Smith has no choice but to go to the inside here and follow with the 2-time Sunoco Cup Series champion. And it's really all about letting Shoemaker tell the story for the rest of the run. As long as he holds up top with a bit of the older tires, he's going to hit that cliff sooner than later, and that could enable Smith to get by, but Smith is loose. Cracks out the rear end at the exit of the corner, and now Bradley losing a bunch of time to Peel, who got through.
I want to say, mention back here with the 26 of Logan Sturgeon, there's no front end on this car, and look at him just outside or just inside the top 10 here, riding on board with him now. How's that car handling right now? I have no idea.
I'm not sure, but as my good friend Devin Henry would say, that's just more clean air to that radiator. No blockage with the front bumper. Here's a look on board with Sturgeon, who's been in so many cautions tonight, but is still keeping his head in the game like he's Zac Efron in High School Musical. He attacks on Aaron Adcock for 8th place, with James Kunkel behind in 10th.
High School Musical reference here at Bristol tonight. You pulled it off. I don't think I would have been able to do that.
Well, I don't know. That just sort of came out naturally. I said get your head in the game, and I just think Disney Channel 2007, 8. But yeah, Logan Sturgeon, what a run building up tonight. I mean, keeping focus through everything that's happened to him, with all the damage he's picked up, to even come out of a top 10 from Bristol with all that went down. That surely has to be a win, although he still has to play a bit of defense because Isaac Mock and James Kunkel are still there for the taking if Sturgeon coughs a mistake up.
Yeah, we still have 120 plus laps to go, so plenty of opportunity for somebody else to take this top 10 away from him, but still kudos to him. This car just beat up. Bristol, a little more forgetful as far as body panels go, but if you start knocking those toe links, that's what you have to worry about here. And doesn't look like the 96's connection has cleaned up yet. I'm interested to see if the track stewards will do anything about this here, as it's been about 10 laps since they've last warned it.
Dakota Curtis tells Austin Reedy, you've been blinking for the last 15 laps in a row. He's giving him another warning here as Reedy holds on to the lead. And if you're Austin, I mean, you really don't want to give this up because of your internet. You're holding on to the lead. You're doing so nicely by about 2 to 3 tenths of a second. But again, it is affecting Ross Harlow's attack, because as he got close, if Reedy blinks in and out, that could be contact that's dealt to Harlow that he really could not see. Remember Alex Muscarella, the connectivity issues he faced at Daytona? He was in the middle of that inside lane. Drivers didn't know where he was. He popped back in a line, and then he's sideways.
And another factor that, I don't know, iRacing has been a little weird here with how the cars have been disconnecting, and I've seen it a few times here on VSPEED where cars will still be, they'll be blinking out, everyone will disappear to them, but they're still on making contact with cars and driving through the field, and it just looks like a wrecking ball. I'll make a Miley Cyrus reference since you did a High School Musical.
All right.
And just drives entirely through 6, 7, 8 cars and just ruins the session. So it could be another one of those instances where Austin Reedy doesn't see Ross Harlow as he gets to the inside and just drives his line like he normally would and hits him. So we got to, as you see him, he's actually pulling away a little bit here. So I don't know that Ross has really got the speed to keep pace with him yet.
Well, if that's the case, then Bradley, you're really not getting the best of both worlds.
Oh, the puns. They just keep coming.
We're midway through the race, folks. We're almost done. We're about 100 and maybe 14 laps away from the checkered flag. A look from Harlow, and you're right, Bradley. He has sort of fallen from the grace of being close to the race leader. Gap extends to about 6 tenths of a second. And in the meanwhile, the car right behind him, Joe Sanchez, is picking up the pace. Last time by, or as they cross the stripe now, we'll look at the difference in lap time. Sanchez a tad bit faster by about 7/100ths of a second. And here's second back to fourth place. Peel about a second back, then Sanchez 8/10 back of the race leader, and then Ross Harlow, who's about 1/10 back from this group right about here. So Sanchez is starting to push the gun. Here he is on the inside for second place as Reedy approaches a bit of lap traffic.
And that's a car off the
caution is
track.
out. That's Robert Hunrada. Third time
Hunrada's-
tonight that Hunrada is involved in a caution.
Yeah, he's not having a good time here at Bristol. In Tennessee, he's ready to get out of here and go down south to Texas.
His car is staying in it, but it is severely bruised and battered. He's in this fight with Sean Kalis, who's going to get into him and send him sideways, and Muscarella is going to give him the extra friendly tush push to send Hunrada fully sideways and towards the inside wall. While Hunrada doesn't really hit the inside wall with that much ferocity, it's more so kiss. Still more than enough to get him sideways and enough for the admins to throw the yellow. Here's a look from Kalis.
Yeah, it hit him, tried to back off, and then got kind of forced back into him. I mean, if you're in Rada right now, what's your mentality? I mean, are you just waiting for this thing to be over with? You've been you've been shoes in a dryer for this point of the race, you know?
I mean, you have your hopes up that you can at least finish. That's the goal now. It's not really finish well. It's more so just cross the line and get points. But it grows considerably harder once you're in more and more accidents, and it really hurts the morale, Bradley. And it also comes down to when the cautions come out so frequently, it hurts everybody in a way, because mentally you're having to reset, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. It feels like a constant cycle you can't escape. But for the leaders, they have to deal with it anyway. Austin Reedy will win the race off pit road, followed by Harlow, Sanchez, Peel, and Austin Shoemaker. Their top five, as Miranda, who assumed the race lead, is going to come down pit road. But now for your leaders. You're looking at 106 laps, give or take, until we get the next green flag. And that will be the distance until the end of the race. At this point, Reedy has the lead, but he remains with internet connectivity issues. If you're Harlow, are you more so wishing that you can either get away from Reedy or just hope that the race admins will get an end-of-line penalty towards that 96 so you can take the lead away?
Here with this restart, that kind of hurts Reedy because it's going to put him grouped back up with these guys, and so now the connection's more of a factor, you know. His positioning and where he's going to be on this restart is detrimental to make sure no one gets causes a caution indirectly from that. So I think right now, if it doesn't clear up, they will assess a penalty, and Ross Harlow probably will resume the lead. If Sanchez is willing to push the issue, I think they'll wait for that to happen before the 55 tries anything on Harlow. That's my mentality about it anyway.
Ready for the restart? At lap number 295 of the 400 scheduled from Bristol, Austin Reedy, Ross Harlow, your front row, the pair of DBR Chevrolets behind them, Peel and Sanchez, before Austin Shoemaker steps right back into the top five. Talk about the comeback for the 14. Remember, he was hit on into the wall. It appeared he had some right front toe link damage, but keeps his head in it after all, and he's got a pretty clean race car, so he's going to stay up with a top 10 position on tap. Isaac Muck, Zach Wilson, James Kunkel, and Justin Urban to your top 10. Justin Erb cracking the first 10 drivers for the first time all night long. The attrition playing a role. Green flag in the air. Reedy out ahead by several tenths. Peel is loose, and he's turned by his teammate. Hit by Wilson on the way inside. And that's the yellow. This time, the two-time defending champ.
And the luck continues for Peel. That's unfortunate. I mean, he's been on point all race. And this is kind of what we saw at Vegas. He was up front, and then suddenly the race just gets away from him. Luckily, no damage this time. I don't think they were quite up to full speed, so. But he's going to have, what, 20 cars to pass now?
Yeah, such a rare mistake for the Mississippi driver. And on the restarts, you're carrying so much throttle as you're pushing up from first to fifth gear. An aerial look at the restart. Peel with a monumental jump as Harlow is forced to react a little slower on the inside.
It's loose.
And here's where the car steps out mid-corner. Sanchez, his teammate with nowhere to go, spins down the racetrack. Wilson, a bit of contact. We don't know how much damage Wilson picked up from that, and if that's enough to send him down pit road. But for one of the most perfect drivers all night long, the imperfection shows here.
And then after the fact, the 9, I think, Schoonover, he got sent around on the outside of all this, so he also gets a little bit of damage. I mean, for the guys that have had problems all season, the hits just keep coming. It seems like we went into Daytona, everybody got their set luck, and that's the factor you're going to have for the rest of the season. It just keeps on, the gift that keeps on giving.
Not to say that this race is over for Peel by any stretch of the imagination. Attrition still playing a heavy role in this race, but Peel is going to lose a lot of time here. He's going to enter pit road, and talk about him. Mario Miranda, Colin Forster, the several top drivers that have been involved in something somewhere here from Bristol, and it's taking them out of race win contention. And the season of struggle continues for the two-time champion of the series. Miranda is out of pit road, still repairing his car. There's Colin Forster in as well from 20th on the racetrack. They're still in it somehow, Bradley, but of course that's a real sting for Peel, who really did not escape the top 5 for most of the action.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it right now is just maybe for some of these guys, they've had a lot of success in the past and they're still riding that momentum from last season. This is a whole new year, and some of these guys have been putting in a lot of practice in the off season. They've been racing with each other in other leagues. So the challenge is, it's almost sevenfold here with how, if you make a mistake, there's 20, 30 people that are right there to capitalize on it, and you can't afford it. And race number 3, if that luck continues, 6, 7 races into the season, I think it's going to be impossible to overcome. This has to be the time that you turn the season around if you're guys like Peel, Miranda. Forster's done good to start, but now he's starting to have some of that luck.
Well, Forster can take a hit as the points leader, but for Peel, who comes into this race 30th in point standings after some pretty poor finishes at both Daytona and then Las Vegas, it's really not getting any easier for the Columbus driver. As we'll set it up again for a restart, this time with exactly 100 laps left to go. Cien falta here in Bristol. Austin Reedy and Ross Harlow, your front row to the green flag again. We'll keep an eye on Reedy's connectivity as we move forward, but it seems to be stable for now. The green waves once again from Thunder Valley. Reedy holds on to the lead. Harlow fights with Eddie Smith. Smith an attempted crossover. Wilson filled the space as Sanchez was closing it up, almost about contact between those two for 4th place.
Starting to see the speed out of that 87 car again. Does he want to get up here and challenge Reedy with the connection issue? And another yellow.
And it's Austin Shoemaker in the heart of the accident. There he is, crestfallen on the apron. And it's another top contender taken out.
Miranda's in it.
Oh, that might be the final blow to Mario Miranda, who cannot escape the calamity. There's Miranda moving through an onboard look. This is behind Brad Fulham and Bill Schoonover, pretty far behind the accident. This is another car that went hard into, well, that was Shoemaker actually, so did go hard into the inside wall and careened back up the hill. We'll try to take a look at exactly how it all arrived. Here's the 14 with Justin Erb. Yeah, the contact there, and Shoemaker goes hard into the inside wall and back up. There's nowhere to go.
And Miranda thought he could find the hole there on the outside, but the 19 just clips Austin Shoemaker and throws him into the outside wall. The 90 also gets a piece of that. The luck continues for some of these guys. It's been It's been a tall and steep slope here at Bristol for anybody that's been trying to rebound. And Colin Forrester, also a little piece of that as well. He was back there in that mix. I mean, the first 2 stages of this race, we did have cautions. We got into the double digits. The first stage was, I mean, immaculate. I thought that coming into tonight, we were going to see a complete carnage to start the race and kind of flip-flop. We're starting to see it at the end of the race.
It hasn't been easy at all as we approach the final 100 laps, now 95 to go from the last great Colosseum. I just heard Lawson Peel come over the in-game radio and said, "It's Bristol, baby," almost as if he had both hands up in a, well, that's kind of how it goes kind of thing. Never have I ever imagined a visual way that a driver just said something over the radio, but with the way Lawson Peel said it, it's kind of how the sentiment is around the field tonight. Sort of like, all right, well, this is how Bristol goes. I guess we'll just get it over with. Lawson Peel involved in one of the more recent accidents. He's a lap down in the lucky dog position, albeit from 20th place. Colin Forrester moves up to 19th, and he's going to be on the lead lap. There's Peel entering pit road to get some extra damage fixed. Meanwhile, Austin Reedy is going to get an end-of-line penalty from race control. That might have been the straw that broke the camel's back there, Bradley.
Yeah, he blinked all the way around through these pace laps, and we double back up. I mean, they gave him a lot more time than I thought they would, but at this point, you have to do something. I can guarantee that Reedy's going to be calling his service provider, get a new router, get that connection fixed, whatever it takes, because you just gave up the race lead from something beyond your control.
Now for Reedy, the challenge is survive. More than really gain track position. Eddie Smith and Ross Harlow will occupy the front row. Back to the lead is Smith, with Sanchez and Wilson to occupy the second row of action. Pace car peels down to the left for another restart at lap 308. Harlow caught off guard. Smith launches quickly. Sanchez has the outside run for second place.
On board with Ross Harlow on this restart. He's loose. You can see it right there, but he had a lot of momentum. If he would have been able to keep that thing connected, he probably would have got a run on Sanchez. Challenge for the lead now.
Well, with everything that's happened, you sort of think if you're a driver up in the top 5, let me not make a mistake and at least preserve what I have. I do not want to be added to the casualty list, although Joe Sanchez is pushing the aggression up. He looks to the inside again on Smith, who gets a wiggle out of turn 4, cross of the line for 90 laps to go. Here from the last great Colosseum, Sanchez, remainder of this run is used that middle lane.
Got him
now
to the
looks up
outside
top for the lead.
That's going to get him. That right there gets Eddie Smith every time. I don't think he's as fast on the bottom of the racetrack. Now he has to go back into conservation mode. I don't think he's in trouble right now. He just needs to go back to running his line, keep the clean air, and then he'll see Sanchez again. But right now, the 55 being very aggressive. Stage 1 winner back to the point.
He has to avoid all those mistakes if you're Smith. Sanchez pulls away to about 0.4 of a second. In the rear view mirror of Smith is Ross Harlow, but he hasn't gained any ground. So your top 3 covered by at least a second or so. The top 2 separated still by about half a second. Here's everybody behind. Zach Wilson, Isaac Mock, Justin Erb, James Kunkel. These guys finally make their way into the top 10 running positions. So it's all about how they can really conquer the rest of this race and avoid any heavy accidents. Justin Erb has kept his Home Depot Chevrolet clean after starting deep in this field from 27th. Alas, he really does not want to throw this run away with a careless mistake. He's a little loose out of 4. James Kunkel right behind him, and really, Bradley, that's the closest battle we have on track until you get to Aaron Adcock, and guess who's behind him? Mario Miranda. Race not over for the Tulsa native.
It's interesting to see how the 99 car is even still in one piece. He got a ton of damage there when he hit Shoemaker. The car's still in the top 10. This is what separates the guys from, championship contenders from the rest of the field. You don't quit. If you still have a car and it's still running, bring it back out here on the track. Anything can happen. Here's the 45, though. We saw some problems with him earlier. James Kunkel starting to slip up a little bit here as Herb goes by. Now almost 3 wide as they come out of 4.
Miranda with shades of stage 1, where he was slicing his way through the field like a hot knife through some butter. He's looking on the inside from Aaron Adcock. This is going to be the position up for auction, 8th place. Aaron Adcock slides up the track. Miranda patient through the low side. That's really what you need if you're Miranda. Last thing you want is another mistake trying to be aggressive to take you out of the race for good. So many crashes that he's been involved in tonight. And we don't even know how his Toyota Camry has outlasted all of the action. Adcock gets a touch from Miranda exiting the corner, and an onboard look from the Poman Motorsports Ford Mustang.
I mean, the G-forces, that's pretty much the only factor you're not getting at this racetrack right now with that 30 degrees of banking. But you're constantly pumping the wheel to the left. I mean, just one after another after another. And eventually you're either going to exhaust the guy on your inside or you're going to get exhausted yourself and give up the spot. That's really what this track boils down to. You're just constantly working the wheel until you make a mistake.
And also, too, muscle memory. If you're constantly running a line, you want it to get into a rhythm. And several of these drivers, some with direct drive wheels, other with pretty strong force feedback on their wheels. So they're dealing with a lot of the muscle work they have to deal with behind the wheel, and let alone over 400 laps. I know a lot of them have been run under yellow, but when you're under green, it can become physically taxing. We know for Adcock, he holds on to what he can for now. But Miranda is really going to be consistent on staying down there and being patient. They are catching the lap car, Robert Hanrada. They might make it slightly 3 wide. And that got pretty close there, but it could open the door for Miranda to get through as Kunkel holds up the outside lane.
That jumbled him up there for a second. He was still, I moved the camera there for just a second because I wanted to see what was going on behind them, but these guys back to racing Miranda back to the inside. This is for 8th position. Now, if we look at the spread of this field, though, remember back to the first 2 stages where the top 10 was spreading out. Now it's just 5 cars that have pulled away from this group.
Again, it comes back to the level of attrition we've had tonight. It has thinned out this field. A lot of guys taken out of this race, making 26 cars that are still in this contest, maybe 27, unless you count Alex Huffman, because a lot of drivers have been taken out through crashes or other instances out of their control. We'll take a look to the top 10, and right here you're looking at the onboard view from James Kunkel. There's the race leader, Joe Sanchez, out ahead still by half a second over Eddie Smith. Ross Harlow back in 3rd, about a 2nd and 5/10 back. Then Zach Wilson, then Isaac Mock, Justin Erb, James Kunkel, and then of course the battle that we're watching for in 8th place, Adcock and Miranda. Look who's behind them. The 75 of Chuck Feltz, the 96 of Austin Reedy. Feltz is looking for his best finish all season long. He had a 15th place outing at Las Vegas 2 weeks ago. What a run this would be for Feltz if he can be here inside the top 10 at race end. And Austin Reedy, despite the connectivity issues and that end-of-line penalty, is moving.
Well, if there's one guy that's got the muscle memory, look at this guy right here on your screen. He's probably not fatigued at all at this point, but you see Reedy overcoming that end-of-line penalty in front. He's back up into the top 10 very short. I mean, end of line, we're talking about 25 cars that he had to pass to get back up here. And already into 8th, now on the outside of Miranda, now he's up to 7th.
He made it look easy there. Reedy powers on by to take 7th place away. But next up, Justin Erb is about 1.3 seconds up the road. It's going to take a little while for Austin Reedy to catch back up, and he might have to hope for a yellow flag if he really wants to get back into the case for the race win and make it a fast banana 2 in a row. There's Justin Erb with a beat-up Chevrolet Camaro, but he's still running. Closest fight on the racetrack is this. How about this clustered pack right in front of the race leader? This is not going to be easy.
Oh, Sanchez is really being impatient, though. He moved the 90 out of the way. He said, I gotta go. Eddie Smith shaved all this time off of me. He's back to the rear bumper now. You're walking on pins and needles through this lap traffic at this point.
And you're looking at two different games played here, Bradley. One of them is getting around lap traffic without making contact with them or creating an accident. But the second game you're playing is sending the second place driver in dirty air. You might see that, Bradley, and you could probably expand on this just a little bit. The way the drivers strategically place their car in front of the other just to give them a little more understeer. Joe Sanchez could be thinking about that as he weaves through the lap traffic and as close as Smith gets to him in the waning laps.
And Smith also not meeting these lap cars quite at the same time. You're going to see Sanchez pull away a little bit here. So all the time he might have lost on that lap, that first gaggle of cars. Oh, he's still not able to pass Schoonover. He might get a little impatient here, and we'll have to wait and see, because now the 3 of Ross Harlow is on the back bumper. Yeah,
he brought everybody into the party.
Yeah,
Ross Harlow.
To reestablish what we were originally talking about, though, the dirty air tricks that you can play. This car is notorious for that bubble behind it. When you get within 2/10, it's almost like a completely different machine. Your line is completely different. You can't drive it in as deep. Your exits are kind of washes the car out. So without that downforce it's so reliant on, you'll see Sanchez do this to everybody that gets up on his back bumper. He's going to take away their line. That's what he has to do.
And while it is decreased a little bit, that aero wash effect, just because these cars are now reflective of the NASCAR short track package that was changed for 2024, where they lowered the rear spoiler to only 2 inches and basically eliminated what was the heap of the rear diffuser at the back end of the car. Now you can see a pretty decent gap back there, and you don't really see a diffuser back there. It's eliminated some of that aero wash, but it's still there, and it's still considerable. When you look at when you're right behind a driver and you're trying to make a pass, it does get very difficult. As Ross Harlow falls back to 4th, Zach Wilson is taking his place, and Eddie Smith is still struggling to get by the lap traffic. Curtis Kelly, though, is going to be courteous and let these drivers through without a hitch. But how about Zach Wilson? He's picking up the pace as of late, and this is a big run he's got on Smith for P2.
And Wilson's been impressive. He's snuck up here into the top 3 several times today, especially when it counted. That's the important thing. He did it when it matters most, when it pays points. So to do it here, and we're approaching 50 to go, here he is again into the top 3, challenging your second place driver.
Zach Wilson, the last time we were on concrete Bristol back in season 5, he finished 5th place and led 14 laps on the way to that run after starting in 2nd. So Wilson does know a thing or two about running well this concrete version of Bristol, even though these next-gen cars have changed quite a bit since late 2022 when we raced back in September. Smith grabs a bit of the outside wall, goes for a bit of a skid. Dustin Reeves, the lap car, is going to take Smith's line away, and that is more ground that Wilson can gain here.
I think that's what's happening to Smith is these lap cars. He's not able to run that outside line and keep the front end. Lap after lap, he's burning it up a little bit more. The clean air just hasn't been there. When he had success to get that second stage win, there was nobody in front of him, and all he had to do was work that opposite line of the leader, and it just paid off. Now, we've navigated lap traffic. We've had people he's had to pass on these restarts. It's a different approach here, and I see Sanchez now 0.8 of a second. I don't know if Smith has the car to catch him and chase him down.
And it's, oh no, contact in front of the leader. It's Jesse Whittington and Chris Shoemaker. Sanchez splits the C's and somehow avoids that. Yellow is out with under 50 to go.
Just when you start to get into a rhythm at this place, it changes tempo.
Joe Sanchez with the avoidance of the race. This is Chris Shoemaker and Jesse Whittington. Contact between the two. There is Sanchez.
I mean,
Wilson,
a great avoidance by all of the top 5.
Wow. Can you believe it? That could have easily taken out Sanchez tonight, let alone everyone in the top 5. Another look at it. And Whittington's going to bang doors with Shoemaker on exit. They're both going to come up the racetrack. Sanchez with a split-second decision to get out of the way. Wilson carving through the middle. Smith looking on the bottom. Harlow checks up in enough time to get away from it. That was the closest call, Bradley, we have seen all night long. A look from Wilson.
This is the closest car you're going to see probably on VSPEED. Watch this. No idea where that car even is.
Somehow he had vision through all of the smoke and got away. And thankfully the leaders up front do as well, so it doesn't really change up the trajectory of this race, but it will slow everyone down. It will force the leaders on pit road. This, Bradley, is going to be the money stop.
This is the one you have to have. You can't speed. You can't get a penalty. You're going to see Smith, Sanchez come out about where they began. Really close there with Wilson. I think Eddie Smith won that. Oh, that was close.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't really call that Smith winning until, yeah, now. So
that was
Smith
close.
does win second. Wow. That was another photo finish off pit road, but instead for second place. Sanchez, though, was going to hold on to the top spot with under 50 to go from Bristol. Here's another look at that race off pit road. There's that orange machine of Smith. Sanchez out ahead of both of them. That gray machine of Wilson down low. That's how close it gets.
Pit road's been the photo finish. I hope we can get one of those across the line here for the end of this thing. I'd love to see Sanchez and Smith go at it. Maybe a little bit of Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch at Darlington, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe that would be a lot of fun. Or AJ Allmendinger, Austin Cindric. You remember that?
Yeah,
Was that
yeah.
2021?
Yeah, I think, 2021
I want to say
or 2022.
2021. But for Joe Sanchez, got them all in the rearview mirror. There's the lights off from the iRacing official pace car. Now, for Smith, and for Wilson, and for Harlow, basically anyone in the top 5. You can include Austin Reedy in this too. What do you do now? How do you get around Sanchez? How do you bring up a mistake from the Ally Chevrolet?
Well, he's going to take away your line. So really, it's just a matter of get up on his back bumper and make him make a mistake. Because he's going to run where you're running. You have to be careful to not overdrive your stuff, but stay in that mirror, fill it up. He should be able to see the whites in your eyes in his mirror. That's what you need to do right now.
Here we go. Lap 358, green flag in the air. Sanchez, Smith, Harlow, Wilson, your top 4. Reedy to close out the top 5. Wilson loose on the inside. Harlow sweeps on through to 3rd place.
So now Sanchez getting kind of what he wants to see in his mirror. These guys all racing each other for a position on this restart. He pulls out to about half a second. Reedy now on the outside. He's going to get to the race, and the Harlow is going to shut the door. Wilson falls back to 5th. Isaac Mock now into the picture.
How about Isaac Mock surviving through the chaos? And the 47 car could get a great finish for a race team tonight with Alex Muscarella right on his rear view mirror. Colin Forster has moved up into 8th. Miranda closing out the top 10 to make it another race team Toyota Camry in the mix. Meanwhile, Harlow keeps the pressure on Smith as Sanchez pulls away to half a second.
What's unfortunate is Smith is having to play defense, and yes, his line does fit that defensive strategy, but he's not able to just run it. He has to kind of pinch or maybe pull a little bit lower on the entries. He's not running it like he was when he passed for the lead. Now he's got that clean air. He can get back to the drawing board, get back to what was working at the start, and maybe chase down. You'll see that deficit trim away here about a 10th. He's starting to get those exits that he wants.
Last time by, Smith a 14.913, Sanchez a 14.990. So the 87 just a tad faster. This crosses the line. It's going to be slower for Smith. Sanchez holds on to a 14.997 while Smith fluctuating back to the 15 flats along with basically everyone else inside the top 5. This is prime real estate for Joe Sanchez if he can stay put. Forster kisses the outside wall right behind Zach Wilson.
It's good to see the 31 back into the hunt. This race not over by any means for the 31, the 99. Lawson Peel still not able to get back into the top 10, but don't count him out either. Forster back up here into the top 5, looking to go to the outside.
Forster continuing to move his way up through the field. He's inside the top 5. The points leader wants to keep that
Whoa, he's
placement
sideways.
intact. He's loose off the corner. Here's Wilson again.
Driving this thing on the edge, and he's doing what he has to do, but man, it's like one corner away from ending.
It's like as soon as you step out, there's a spear waiting for you. Colin Forster has escaped that spear many times tonight, and he's going to stay in front of Zach
contact
Wilson.
with Miranda.
Miranda's going to go sideways into the inside wall. Yellow is out.
I saw him making the pass on the 45, and then again, it looked like contact on the exit of the corner. We've seen it time and time again, and Miranda is not happy at all. I won't even bother putting that camera up.
Another look at the incident with James Kunkel, the 45, Beast Monster Energy. Camry, the replay, Miranda on the inside and goes up. I'm not sure if he was expecting Kunkel there, Bradley, to be that low on the racetrack. Just similar to another incident we had earlier with Chuck Phelps.
Yeah, I think he was expecting him to be a lot more to the outside here. There's plenty of racetrack. He's given probably half a car width, and Miranda used to, when someone's on the outside, being able to come up to almost the middle of the track. They met right there. And even if you have triple monitors, we'll go on board here with Miranda. Well, back it up a little bit more. Go on the gyro cam. You cannot see anything. Even with triple monitors, there's still kind of a blind spot here with that A post, and right there you're going to see it.
It's really hard to tell when that car comes up on your right side, and by the time you notice, more often than not, it's too late. Miranda joining Aaron Adcock on pit road. It's yet again another incident that Miranda has had to face the brunt of, and every time it seems like the racing gods would give him some sort of break, they deal him another crash. So Miranda will have to try and rebound again, although the good news is there's not many cars up in front of him just based on what's happened tonight, so at least Miranda can lock up a top 15 finish, as there are only 15 cars on the lead lap. Well, just a quick reminder that if you were enjoying the coverage tonight from Bristol Motor Speedway, well, you might want to watch what happens 2 Sundays from tonight. On April 7th, the Sunoco Cup Series gang will take on Texas Motor Speedway from the Lone Star State. We'll have that coverage for you 2 weeks from tonight. That is April 7th. You'll find that on 8 p.m. Eastern right here on the VSPEED YouTube channel as the Sunoco Cup Series takes on the second mile-and-a-half track of the season. Bradley, Texas is going to be a lot of fun. 2 different sides of the speedway, 2 different bankings, pretty fresh grip. What do you encounter on that run in 2 weeks?
Well, if you're a guy that likes a little bit shallower banking, you're really going to love turns 1 and 2. But if you're a guy that favors more of an Atlanta or a Charlotte, you're going to love 3 and 4. It's pretty wide open. So it's that mile-and-a-half that brings the best of both worlds. And we're going to see a lot of strategies and guys that maybe pit a little early. Fuel strategy has always been prevalent at that racetrack. Mile-and-a-halves have kind of daunted us on this schedule with how it started out. But I look for some guys to rebound, and overall, we're going to see some great racing. Bristol's been good, but I think Texas is really going to be that punctuation on the season.
Well, Texas last season was a lot of fun. It was in the middle of the playoffs in Season 6. Lawson Peel, the victor there, advancing to the next round. A lot of fun under the lights. One of the more beautiful tracks lighting-wise, too, Bradley. Wouldn't you say? When the cautions come out, all the poles on the fence start to light up. That's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is really neat. The fence, pretty much like a strobe effect all the way around. And, you know, rest in peace my graphics card when that happens. But it does work, and it does look good. Sanchez on the point. Eddie Smith to the outside. Has anybody got anything for the 55 as we go back into 1? There's Eddie Smith with a move from Austin Reedy for second. He made quick work of that. Now he's going for the lead. Does his connection hold up?
Reedy striving to get back to the position that he occupied not that long ago, and on board looking. He had a big run out of turn 4 while Eddie Smith plays defensive against Colin Forster and Zach Wilson, who remain in this door-to-door fight for 4th place. Inside, 25 to go. Now going to be 23 to go from Bristol. Reedy runs up top. Sanchez faithful to the middle. And he's loose off the corner.
On board back here with Alex Muscarella. He has recovered nicely. The 48 car, also one of those guys that needs to rebound, have the season turn around for him. And maybe it starts here. He's cracking the top 10. He's trying to get around James Kunkel. Chuck Phelps just behind him in 11.
A large gaggle of cars that goes all the way back to Aaron Adcock in 14th place. Got a car on the inside. That's Alex Huffman. He saves it. We're going to stay green. That was around Lawson Field territory as he sits in 15th place as the last car on the lead lap. But the focus back to the race lead. Cross of the line, lap 380. It'll be 20 laps to go from the last great Colosseum, and the fight for first is on. Has not been able to gain any significant ground as Eddie Smith pioneers the top once more, and he closes in, making it your top 3 inside 0.3 of a second. Another look from Reedy.
Just so impressive here. You see Sanchez moving up. He's kind of late apexing these corners, taking away the entry speed for Reedy and Smith, but it's just been impressive. We thought this outside line would dither away, and it has not. The 87's done it better than anybody else here tonight. I'm just interested to see if he has enough. There's just not enough laps in this race that we can tell if he's still got the speed or not.
And Reedy is forced in a sandwich while Sanchez stays in the middle of the racetrack while Smith runs the top. Reedy has been all over the place, experimenting with the bottom, with the outside, uses the top to get a run to go on the bottom of the 55.
Oh.
They almost brush and make contact. Out of 2, Sanchez wins.
You got the run, but it's completing the pass. You can get about 100 of those runs as he hits the wall there right in front of Eddie Smith. Smith probably going to get a little impatient now with less than 15 to go. He has to take over this spot, but he doesn't want to do it on the inside. Reedy knows that, and he's taking it away.
But the time is dwindling. We'll cross the line with about 13 laps to go. Wilson peeking on the bottom for a potential move on Colin Forster, but backs out. We're all single file, while Austin Reedy and Eddie Smith look to crack the barrier that Sanchez has built up for the last 50 or so laps in the race. Reedy experimenting with everything he can to get a big run off the corner. Can this be the charge?
Seen a lot of defense up here by the 55 and the 96. We've seen it since the restart. Coming down to 11 laps to go. Next time by, actually. And, I mean, if you're Reedy right now, do you move him out of the way?
I don't know. It might be the casual Bristol bump and run that decides this race. Reedy, last time he went to victory lane was on July 30th in Season 6. It was a playoff race at Richmond. Before that, won the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro Speedway in dominating fashion. Reedy has the resume of a short track powerhouse. But Sanchez, who's been hanging around for a while and hasn't won a race since Darlington in Season 5, is tasked with staying up front. Under 10 laps to go as your top 3 are clustered nose to tail.
You see Miranda has found his way up to 6th spot. If we get a caution, Miranda could be back in the hunt for the win.
But your top 3 have pulled away from the likes of Zach Wilson, Colin Forster, and like you said, Miranda, who does have 17-lap fresher tires. It's all about how much time does he have left. Reedy up high, into the wall. Smith the same. Reedy's there, right on the back bumper of Sanchez. He goes underneath for the lead with 7 to go.
There's the
They
contact.
make contact.
Now
Reedy
Smith the
sideways, he
second.
saves it. What a save from Reedy. But is this the run over for him as Wilson goes underneath? Now Eddie Smith is in within 1/10. 6 laps to go, it's not over yet. Oh my, what a race we're building up from Bristol. They're side by side for 3rd. Wilson on the inside now. Miranda powering his way through. It's almost 3 wide. Reedy hit the outside wall. It's getting close 5 to go.
I think Reedy's used it up. He's just trying to play as much defense as he can. He's almost hit the wall every single entry in this corner. Now Miranda up into the top 5. How about the recovery from the 99 car? Sanchez has got defense as well. These guys all over each other as they come off the 2.
Eddie Smith is right there. Within 4, coming to 3 laps to go. He has to back
Into the
out
wall.
as he taps the wall again. Miranda is slicing his way through the top 4, and look who's in the mix as well. Lawson Peel, the 2-time champ, has moved up to 6th place as he watches ahead. His teammate catches 2 laps to go from Bristol.
All over the back bumper now of Sanchez. Smith almost moves him out of the way, but hits the wall in the entry of 1.
And Sanchez is blowing up. Smith behind. Wilson on the
4
inside.
wide.
Now Miranda 4's in. We're 4 wide to the white flag. Smith in the wall again. Sanchez has 1 more lap to stay put. Miranda looks on the inside for 2nd place. Is this enough for Sanchez to hold on? Miranda dives in. Sanchez stays there. He will win at Bristol Motor Speedway.
And Eddie Smith just barely gets ahead of Miranda to cross the line for 2nd.
Sixth career Sunoco Cup Series win for Joe Sanchez, who hasn't won a race since Darlington of Season 5. And tonight at Bristol has the race of his life while everyone chased him down, and brings you tonight's Sunoco winning moment. More high-performance racing engines rely on Sunoco race fuels than all others combined. And for over 50 years, Sunoco has been fueling the top race car drivers around the world with high-quality performance fuels they can trust to power them to the checkered flag. Sunoco, fueling victories from track to tank. It doesn't get any closer than this. And had we had 1 more lap from Bristol, this could have been a very different outcome. But at the cross of the stripe for lap 400, Joe Sanchez victorious from Bristol, Tennessee.
Congratulations to this top 3. I mean, Miranda to come back and rebound the way he did. I think he hit every single car here tonight. And for him to get back into the top 3 in post-race, an excellent job for the 99. And, kudos to the stage 1 winner and the victorious driver of the night. Joe Sanchez just a little bit better on the defense than everyone else, and he's able to hold on to it. Eddie Smith, we're talking about 1/1000th of a second. That's as far as my timing goes, folks, and that's how much he beat Mario Miranda to the line coming out of 4.
We mustered through so many cautions tonight, and we got a hell of a finish as Joe Sanchez, with the celebrations continuing here from Bristol, relishes his 6th career Sunoco Cup Series win. We will take a short break, but when we come back, post-race coverage alongside top 3 interviews, including Sanchez, the winner, here on VSPEED. You won't want to miss it with the Sunoco Cup Series from Bristol.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller, yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Welcome back to Bristol. If you missed it, well, then you might want to look back a little bit on the YouTube stream. Boy, what a finish from the last great Colosseum. It's Joe Sanchez who gets his 6th career Sunoco Cup Series win via a hard-fought defense against Eddie Smith and Mario Miranda, plus others that were trying to charge on him come the checkered flag. Let's take a look at the unofficial race results from Bristol Motor Speedway. Our first short track race of the season brought us a banger. Joe Sanchez, the winner after this 400 lapper, a long race tonight. Eddie Smith to come home in second and continues what's been a pretty consistent rookie season for him. Mario Miranda went through hell and back and somehow finished third. We're going to ask him all about that and more on our post-race interviews. Lawson Peel, the two-time champ, faced the spin late in the going, but because of all the attrition, rebounded to 4th. His best finish of the season comes tonight along with Miranda. Zach Wilson missed 2 weeks ago at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, recovers with a nice stage finish in Stage 2 and then a 5th place outing at the end of the race. Austin Reedy also recovered from an end-of-line penalty given due to blinky internet. He recovers to 6th place. Isaac Mott, quiet but strong all race long. He comes home in 7th. Aaron Adcock for Poman Motorsports is going to be in 8th. Brandon Banks to make it the 3rd Drinkin' Bros Racing Chevrolet inside the top 10. And the points leader, Colin Forster Bradley Cooper, rebounds from dead last on the starting grid to a top 10 finishing position.
Yeah, kudos to Forrester. I thought that his night was done. I thought Miranda's night was done. There's so many guys. Adcock started this race off sideways in the first, I think it was like the first caution of the night. So a lot of these guys that are in this top 10, what a day. Up and down, back and forth, but great job for all of them. And go through 11th position, Justin Erb in the 20 machine. He had a little bit of damage, but he kept it out there. Finishes 11th. 45 machine of James Kunkel. That car, I think, held on to the top, just outside the top 10 for the remaining 100 laps, and kudos to him. Ross Harlow, unfortunately, started up in 4th. He's going to finish 13th here tonight. Chuck Phelps started in 30th. He's going to get another top 15 here for the 75. Dustin Reeves in the 6th is going to come home in 15th. We didn't talk much about Dustin Reeves. I think he got caught up in a couple things here tonight, but good finish for him. Then it's Sean Kalis in the 90, Curtis Kelly in the 71. Bill Schoonover, a lot of damage, 18th here tonight. Logan Sturgeon with the front clip missing. He's going to finish 19th. And rounding out the top 20, well, if you want to talk about a guy that got hit a lot, 37, Robert Henrada. I'm sorry, I struggle with that name so bad. Finishes 20th here tonight.
21st goes to the 48 of Alex Muscarella. He is 5 laps down at the end of this race. Justin Winters had a strong midway points of the race, but then got caught up in a crash and really didn't go uphill from there. 22nd is his finishing position. 23rd will go to Jesse Whittington, back and forth throughout the race, but really wasn't the finish he was hoping for tonight. Kip Easley is 24th. Top 25 goes to Brad Fulham, and we look further through the order and see more of the casualties from this short track race. Chris Shoemaker, the first in 26th. Alex Huffman in 27th. Austin Shoemaker got into 2 crashes, recovered, but then got into a final crash. He's 28th. Richard Swavely, 29th. Casey Knighton to complete the top 30, and then goes Chris Progar, Shane Wyatt, Dakota Curtis, Steven Stempian, who got spun around early in the race, Ray Rogers, Garrett Brown, and the second place starter, rookie Jonathan Cofield, does not see his efforts be rewarded at all. 331 laps down at the checkered flag. It is the second straight Sunoco Cup Series season in which we have 3 different winners in the first 3 races, but since Season 5, we have not seen Joe Sanchez in victory lane until now. Welcome back, Joe, to victory lane here in the Sunoco Cup Series. I'm sure this race felt crazy at the end with everyone on your tail trying to catch you. But before we get into the details of how you stood up on that defense, what does it feel like to finally get back to victory lane in what's almost a year and a half now?
Feels good. Had to leave the league halfway through last season due to some work travel that got in the way. So it's good to be back in here. Haven't driven these cars since then, so I thought I'd be take a little longer to get used to them. but felt right back into the style of these cars, and then especially with this new tire model, it really suits into how I drive the car. But those last few laps there were definitely intense. Try to obviously just take their lines away as much as I could. I knew when I was back in traffic how aero tight you would get, so I was just trying to anticipate what line Reedy was going to take there. He was a little bit harder to predict. He would switch his lines up a little bit. Eddie was pretty committed to the top, so all in all, I wish we could have had some more green flag racing, because I think it would have probably lended a little bit better of a finish, even though those finish right there was pretty wild. But still happy to finally put a winner sticker on the car.
I really wish that I could hear your heart in those last couple laps, because I'm sure it was probably pumping at its maximum capacity, just because you were on edge there. Smith, Miranda, Peel, everyone behind you trying to take the lead away. And you mentioned taking the lines away from people behind you, but I want to talk about the rhythm that you built up through this race. Most notably, that middle line, how you curled down at the exit of the corner and contained your momentum all the way through. What was working for you most when you found that middle line, and how it really helped you near the end of the race?
Um, I really do well with rhythm tracks, flat tracks especially, where heavy braking is involved, but ones that you could fall into a rhythm, because once I could get in the zone, I try not to make mistakes. And but that middle line, trying to kind of straddle that first seam, really helped the car rotate. The track didn't really take rubber like I thought it would, so much like the real Cup race. So really kind of felt the same the whole race, never really changed too much. And I knew from practice and then in the first stage that bottom was going to be the preferred line. So obviously, as the tires kind of wear down, you had to drift up a little bit, but I could never really commit to the top, because I would get too tight up there. But that middle line, middle to bottom, was really rotated the car.
3 races, 1 win now, and 3 top 10 finishes. At Daytona, you survived to finish 6th. At Las Vegas, you ran well to finish 7th, and now a top place finishing position tonight at Bristol, your first of this season. How much momentum now do you carry going into Texas Motor Speedway? We know that that's a track that you definitely perform well at least in the history of me watching you on the sim at a track like that. So how much momentum now do you build from a win like this to the 1.5 miles at Texas 2 weeks from tonight?
It'd be interesting to see how this car now handles with the different tire there, but I think last time we ran there in Sunoco, I was about 10 feet from winning it when my teammate lost and kind of gave me a little bump there at the end. But I'm happy to win here, but I think I'm even more happy that I got a stage win, because I typically don't qualify quite well to really capitalize on stage points. So I think the happiest part of my season here is qualifying more towards the front and not having to really kill those positions off in the first half of the race. And I think the longer races here definitely aid into my style of racing. But yeah, qualifying up front is really key in these cars, just because they're so hard to pass. And just hopefully I can keep doing that and see where I finish here at Texas.
Well, tonight you had to survive, and you conquered it all, even in the waning laps when things looked tense. Joe, on behalf of all of us here at VSPEED, congratulations on your first win of Season 7 in the Sunoco Cup Series, your 6th in your Sunoco career, and best of luck as we move forward to Texas Motor Speedway 2 Sundays from tonight. But until then, enjoy the victory, a hard-fought W tonight at the last great Colosseum.
Thanks, guys.
Joe Sanchez, the winner of it all here at Bristol Motor Speedway. A fantastic job to stay put even through all of the March Madness. Will sit through second place. Eddie Smith, the rookie, is caught up with our very own Bradley Cooper.
Well, Eddie, I'm sure you're tired of hearing my voice here on VSPEED, but you get up here into the booth, and I remember the first time I ever had an interview with you, you felt like you didn't deserve to be there or where you finished. Here tonight, I can assure you, you very much deserve to be in this top 3. You were one of the fastest cars on the pace, and you come home second, just shy. I thought you had something for Sanchez. Take us back, and what could you have done differently?
Well, thanks, by the way. Good to talk to y'all. It's really exciting. Yeah, I feel like I got a win tonight, even though I'm not in victory lane. I still feel like it was a very complete race. Yeah, as far as at the end, I don't want to say I let Joe by when I had the lead, but I almost screwed him up. I almost hit him, just overdriving it, trying to hold on to the lead. And I'd already gotten into him a couple times on entry, and I felt bad. I was like, I'll just let him go and get him back later. And that was a critical error because I never could get back to him, and there are all the shenanigans at the end. I really just had to commit to the top. I couldn't make the bottom work like those guys. They're confused I was able to run the top, and I'm confused they were able to run the bottom because I tried the bottom a few times, even getting around lap cars, and it just wouldn't work. That first run, I had pretty much said before the race I was going to commit to the top just so I didn't get freight train, and ended up driving around quite a few drivers early, folks running the bottom like normal to save tire. And I said, well, I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to have fun. And it kept working, and I kept driving, and I felt like, oh, I'm really, like, I'm passing people that I feel like are better than me. And I thought, well, okay, I'm really screwing up here. But it just kept working and kept working, and went in for the first pit stop, and the tire looked really good. And I said, well, I'm going to commit to it at this point. So, but as far as at the end, I didn't have anything for Joe in the last few laps. I really just needed to try to maintain second. So was just really glad to get that.
Well, you get the first stage win for Po-Man Motorsports, and, was it the second stage there where you realized, hey, maybe this outside is working, and I'm going to stick with it?
I'm not that cocky. I honestly always feel like, for better or worse, I always feel like I'm doing something wrong if I'm up front in the series, just because I know how good the drivers are. And so, whenever you're racing people you feel like are better than you, you pass them, and you go, okay, I'm doing something wrong. So when I got up there, yeah, and so I got up there, and I was just having a blast running the top. Ripping the top is so much fun. So I was having fun, and I said, well, let's go up there and try to lead a lap or two. Say I led a lap in Sunoco. That's cool. As a rookie, that'd be a lot of fun, and hadn't done that yet. And so we got up there and did it, man. And it just I kept staying up there. We got pushed back when people flipped the stage 2, but kind of kept ahead in it and got back into it. Had a little bit of damage. Somebody hit me under caution. I don't know if they just didn't know I was there. Just come down, hit my right front. I wonder if it didn't hurt it just a little bit for the rest of the race, because I didn't feel as good as that first run. But yeah, I don't know. I'm so excited. I'm gonna ramble. I don't mean to, but
it's all right.
It's fun, man. It's awesome. It was a great finish. Really cool. Glad to see Joe win. He was a unbelievable race that we had all race long. I was looking at the back of that bumper pretty much the whole time. So to see him win, I think he definitely deserved it. He played it all right. He'd run the bottom. As soon as I got to him, he jumped up the top, and there's nothing I could do. So just really happy to get Po-Man a second place and bring it home for Tide, the new sponsor, baby.
The new sponsor, Tide on the machine, and the 87. We're looking at the 4 wide there just at the last lap, and 1/1000th of a second over Mario Miranda across the line for second place. Eddie Smith, anybody you'd like to shout out as we have you up in the booth?
Yeah, I got to shout out my teammates over at Po-Man, Aaron Adcock, Chuck Phelps, Ray Rogers. Man, we have a good time, in the chat. And so, they make the races fun. We laugh and cut up, and that's the best part. And they definitely help me out all the time. So want to thank them. Want to thank all the league admins for what they do, and thank y'all for broadcasting. Love the broadcast. Y'all the best.
Appreciate your time, Eddie. Congrats on the second place. The momentum from Vegas brings it into Bristol. Second place finisher Eddie Smith here today.
Eddie Smith coming home in second will bring in the third place finisher, Mario Miranda. And Mario, I think the only word for a question I have for you is how. Through all of it, through all the madness, the chaos, the crashing, the hits, and all, you recover for third. How were you able to convert this into your best finish this season?
I don't know. I've had a lot of bad luck so far in the first 3 races, and I think I had it tonight too. But it couldn't stop me. I don't know how many times I was spinning or wrecked or caught up in a wreck, or I can't even count my fingers, but I knew I just couldn't stop at any point because that's maybe another position I can gain or another wreck I can avoid. You know, someone else's bad luck is my good luck. So, but I got all the damage fixed as much as I can, but I couldn't fix everything. So after 20 laps, my right front was gone. It was wearing twice as fast as usual. So I knew on that last run there at the end that I had 20 laps to get up there, nothing more, nothing less. And if I'm not up there in time, I don't have a chance. So I really put my heart out in those last 20.
You can tell you put every bit of you in that last run, and had it been one extra lap, you could make an argument that you would have won that race, whether it be by a little or by at least a car length or so. But third place tonight, based on everything that happened, I'm sure feels like a win. And you said that no matter what, you kept your head down, you stayed relentless. How do you maintain that patience through everything that happens? Because it seemed like every time you would get knocked down, you would find your way back, and then you get knocked down again, and the racing gods wouldn't give you a break. How were you able to stay patient through all of that and keep yourself grounded to stay in this race, let the attrition take its course, and come home with a podium?
Yeah, the racing gods really were after me tonight, but it was my teammates. Those guys they're way more mature than I am. They've lived a lot longer. They've been around. You know, they have way more experience than I do, and I may be faster, but the experience those guys have it's priceless. So they were doing their best to keep me calm, and they always do week in and week out. So honestly, 100% credit to those guys. And we came home with 2 top 10 finishes. Kunkel finished 12th, so it was honestly a really good points day for us. And those guys had their own bad luck throughout the race, but we really do work well as a team, and we keep each other cool. Isaac got heated at one moment of the race, and so did Kunkel, but we do really balance each other out, and I think that's what makes race team the best race team at Sunoco.
Y'all kept your heads in it, and it seemed to work near the end of a attrition-filled, long Bristol race. I'm sure everyone was dealt some sort of bad luck. It was all over the place tonight. But your first 2 races of the season, Daytona and Las Vegas, I'm sure you like to forget off of good finishes that weren't rewarded with, or good races that weren't rewarded with good finishes. But is tonight finally the turning point? Third place, now as you work on to Texas and the rest of the regular season schedule, is this where you turn things around, use that pivot foot to get right back to the plus?
I really hope so. We won Texas last time Sunoco was here. Maybe with that race we had a little luck in winning, but we had a good pace at Texas last time we were there. So with the new iRacing model, with the tire model and everything, I think Texas should be a really good race. And I always have an extra passion racing at Texas, maybe extra hatred for that place, but it's good hatred, and I always seem to do well there. So I am really looking forward to it, and I think our luck is turning around.
Well, yeah, a lot of people do argue that Texas should be bulldozed and turned into a local Walmart, but that's an entire different conversation in its own right. Mario, we really do appreciate the time and glad that we finally get to talk to you on a podium position. It feels like we were waiting weeks to have you there, but just things out of your control and things have happened to take you out of it. But before we let you go, anybody in particular you want to thank before we send you and the rest of the field off to Texas?
Yeah, I just want to thank Victory Fuel for being on the car again, and the guys at Twisted Tech. They've done amazing work with me and at OU, and those guys are amazing. And Team Watson setups. We have Road to Pro this week, so looking to work with those guys again. And yeah, we're hoping to paint Texas crimson and cream next week.
Well, Mario, as always, we appreciate the time. Best of luck entering Texas 2 weeks from tonight. But on behalf of our crew at VSPEED, congratulations on the top 31, a hard-fought one and a very resilient race to the end.
Thank you, guys.
Mario Miranda, the Oklahoma native, is going to be third place at the cross of the checkered flag from Bristol. Boy, have we seen it all. It seems, Bradley, that every single race, we feel like nothing can top the other. And then the next race just continues to add more storylines and fuel to the fire. Now we head to the second mile-and-a-half race of the season at Texas. But before we delve into what's at stake there on April 7th, how about tonight? What about the finish? Sanchez holding on, Smith, Miranda, Peel, and then everybody else giving him a run for his money.
Yeah, I mean, the race coming down to guys that hadn't been in the top 5 all night long. They'd been fighting, struggling. I mean, it was a condensed version of the first 2 races, all within 400 laps for some of these guys. You had Peel, you had Miranda, You had Reedy, some of Colin Forrester, who's had great success, kind of falls off and recovers as well. Just everything that could go wrong went wrong in the first half of this race. They come back, they keep fighting, and that's how you win championships. You never quit. Congratulations to Joe Sanchez, the 1,000th of a second for Eddie Smith. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. 4 wide at Bristol. You said we wouldn't see it. We saw it.
We did, and they made it work. Somehow, some way, they proved me wrong in some way or another. Wins on multiple fronts. For Sanchez, his first of the season. For Eddie Smith, his best finish of the year. For Mario Miranda, his best finish of the year. Also, Lawson Peel recovers from a rough first 2 races of the campaign. Zach Wilson recovers after missing Las Vegas to get a top 5. Many storylines to push these drivers forward. Now to Texas, a track with a lot of grip. 2 different ends of the speedway. What do we expect in the Lone Star State?
Well, like I said, this is a 2 different sided track. If you like a flat track, you're going to really like 1 and 2. And I personally like the remodel, the reconfiguration of this racetrack. It's been fun for me personally, but in this Cup car with that dirty air, that low banking, it could be rather difficult to overtake. And then we got the high speed coming out of 4. You're going to get a little bit loose. I'm excited to see, because we saw it here tonight, how these guys are able to handle a race car when it gets sideways and it's out of control.
If you thought this race at Texas 2 weeks from now will be any similar to the one at Las Vegas 2 weeks ago, then you'd probably be mistaken. This is a 1.5 miles that's treated very differently from the others on the schedule, so that'll be a lot of excitement. 2 weeks from tonight, again, April 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern. You'll find it right here on the VSPEED YouTube channel. Well, that would do it for our coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series, live from Bristol. For Dakota Curtis and the admin team at the Sunoco Cup Series, for Adam Baker for all of his behind-the-scenes work at VSPEED, and for our producer and colleague in the booth tonight, Bradley Cooper, I'm Kenneth Bueno. Thank you so much for watching our coverage from the last great Colosseum. Joe Sanchez, hoist the sword in Bristol, Tennessee. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time from the Lone Star State and Texas Motor Speedway.